this world, there's one man who refuses to follow the script.
We have rules here, you know that. And if you don't follow the rules, then what are we?
One man stands tall in the face of adversity.
But it ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward.
A man who rises above the ashes of hot takes.
What do you care what they say?
Easy for you to say they don't love you.
It's just noise, man. You're really good at it. You might be great.
That man is Nick Kostos. And this is You Better You Bet.
If loving sports is wrong, I don't want to be right.
Where narratives are challenged and the truth is spoken.
I told you what was going to happen last week. If you didn't listen, that's on you.
This isn't talk, it's perspective.
It's not what you look at that matters. It's what you see.
This is You Better You Bet, presented by BetMGM on Westwood One Sports.
What's up, everybody? Happy and merry, magnificent Sports Monday to you and yours. This is You Better You Bet with Nick Kostos on Westwood One Sports, as we bring you the fastest show in all of sports. When I say of there, I feel like I put an H at the front of it. Of. I don't know why I do that, but I kind of like it. The show, presented today and always by our friends at BetMGM. Make it legendary by downloading the BetMGM app and visiting BetMGM.com. And on this magnificent Sports Monday morning, the world of sports is buzzing. A lot going on. And we are going to get to all the big stories, including a very noteworthy weekend that was in Major League Baseball. I'm going to attempt to answer this question for all of you. How much trouble are the LA Dodgers in? They are in trouble. There's no question about it. But how much trouble are the Dodgers in as far as the National League goes, as far as winning a third straight World Series goes? We will get to that. And the scintillating chase for the third wildcard spot in the American League as we move along here on this Monday morning. I will also tell all of you the single scariest superstar in the NBA this season and the reason why. And I guarantee it's not who you're thinking. And once I say who it is and the reason why, I am pretty confident that you will agree with me. And I will also explain why John Harbaugh and Jackson Dart are right. And I'm not just talking about their political leanings. All the info, all the news, all the analysis from week one of the NFL preseason will dominate today's edition of the show. We will close the show, as per usual, with our bets for tonight in the world of sports after, 2-1-1, not bad, Thursday night in the NFL preseason. I will say, good to get the first horrific beat out of the way early. Had the over in the Cardinals-Raiders game, over 42.5. It's 27-14 Cardinals for the last 30 minutes of the game, and I'm only exaggerating by a little bit. Can't get it over the total. So that stunk to lose, but otherwise a couple winners. Lost with the Yankees on Thursday. We will attempt to do better tonight when I have a couple straight bets in Major League Baseball and one two-team money line parlay for your wagering pleasure. We'll give that out at the end of the program. The phone number, 310-840-4910, 310-840-4910, youtube.com/@thekostos, and you can follow me, your boy, Nick Kostos, on all social media platforms at the Kostos, TheKostos, TheKostos. But we officially begin magnificent Sports Monday edition of You Better You Bet with this message from me to you on this Monday morning. So typically on the show, we'll take a couple topics, big picture topics in the world of sports, and I will go long form on those topics, generally for the first hour of the show. I think we'll have a little bit of a different show today, and I'm really looking forward to it because we are less than a month away now from the start of NFL season. We had a ton of news in the National Football League, not just emanating from preseason games, a bunch of news that we need to get to in the National Football League. And I have gone through every single preseason game that was played this weekend, and I've got storylines to take out of all of them. So if you're a fan of any of the 32 teams in the NFL, minus like the Jaguars who played nobody and nothing happened in their game, that was noteworthy. So unless your coach played nobody in the game and nothing happened of any note for fantasy or otherwise, I'm going to have something to say about your favorite team. And if you're a big fantasy football player, I'm going to have little nuggets that you're going to be able to use in your fantasy drafts because I dive deep so you don't have to. So when your draft comes up, you are going to know about players that people in your league are not going to know about. This will be great for bets when we get to week 1 of the actual NFL season. And of course, just talking sports here, just talking football on You Better You Bet. We will get to everything that happened this weekend in the NFL. Now, before we get to the games, the actual games that were played, a couple pieces of breaking news. Number 1, this broke last night. I literally get into bed a little early. You know, these I got a 2-year-old, man. These weekends are tiring in a good way. Got a lot. Go to the beach. You get home from the beach and you feel like you're in a UFC fight. Your whole body hurts. How's that possible? So I get in bed nice and early last night. Go on my phone. Got a bunch of notifications on social media. And what do I see? The Dallas Cowboys signing Von Miller to a 1-year contract. Terms not disclosed on the Von Miller agreement. Von Miller is obviously, and I will say obviously because if you pay attention to the league, you know this is true, is a future first ballot Hall of Famer. Super Bowl MVP, multi-time All-Pro, Pro Bowler, one of the best pass rushers in this century in the National Football League. And his 138.5 sacks, career sacks, lead all active players now that he is back in the NFL, rushing the passer this year for the Dallas Cowboys. Now, Von Miller is not what he once was, and that's obvious to anyone that pays attention. 37 years old. Probably no longer capable, and we'll see, but in all likelihood, no longer capable of a 15, 17, 20 sack season. But it is worth noting that last year, with the Washington Commanders, and that if I had to ask this trivia question, because this team was so irrelevant last year, hey, what team did Von Miller play on last year? Would you have known the Washington? I mean, I would because I'm a sicko. But would you have known that? They were so irrelevant last year. Von Miller's 9 sacks last year, nothing to sneeze at. Like, this is still a pretty good rotational pass rusher in the National Football League. And now Dallas will inject Von Miller into this pass rushing group that includes Rashawn Gary, who they brought over from the Green Bay Packers in the offseason. Obviously, Quinnen Williams in the middle of the defensive line, and I understand that Williams is more of a defensive tackle than a pure pass rusher, but he can get after that ass. That's why Dallas gave him that huge money extension last week. Youngster Donovan Ezeraku, rookie Malachi Lawrence, who was the second of Dallas's first 2 first-round picks. Caleb Downs was obviously the first. We've got Sam Williams there as well. So Dallas has a bunch of pretty good pass rushers now with Von Miller joining the mix. I absolutely love it from a Dallas Cowboys perspective. Now, I don't think this necessarily, Von Miller going to Dallas, will have the same impact on, let's say, Aaron Donald may be going back to the LA Rams. And Donald had his second, quote-unquote, and I love this, if you look at any of like the ESPN.com, CBSSports.com, any sports website, the term that they use is Aaron Donald had his second, quote-unquote, tryout with the Los Angeles Rams. There is no tryout. Basically how this works is Aaron Donald either tells the Rams, I'm coming back, and they bend over backwards to bring him back, or he says, I'd like to remain retired and go into sports broadcasting. So that's the quote-unquote tryout. I'm expecting Aaron Donald to come back. That is not official. That is just my thought, and I think a lot of people around the league and the media agree with me. Von Miller, in all likelihood, cannot, I don't even want to say will not, I don't think he can have the same impact that Aaron Donald could have at this point in Von Miller's career. And Aaron Donald's coming off 3 years off. I would guess that he's still going to be awesome. There are reports out there that Aaron Donald's only coming back if he feels like he can be Aaron Donald. Not like rotational pass rusher in on 3rd and 8, Aaron Donald. No. In on 1st, 2nd, and 3rd down, Aaron Donald. Scary thought for the rest of the league. So Von Miller can't be that. And I don't even mean that as a bad thing. It's probably not possible. But Von Miller can absolutely provide some pop to this Dallas Cowboys pass rush. And we can even do the mentorship thing, right? As a future first ballot Hall of Famer, being able to mentor and bring along some of these youngsters, notably Malachi Lawrence, notably Donovan Ezeraku. There's no downside to this. It's an A-plus move by the Dallas Cowboys. And I think if we want to assess this just from Von Miller's perspective, I think it shows that there's a lot of optimism around the Cowboys this year. Now, Von chose the Washington Commanders last year, and remember, because it seems crazy in hindsight given the season that the Commanders had. But Washington was coming off a berth in the NFC Championship game in Jaden Daniels' rookie year. So Von Miller, at the end of his career, obviously won a ring in 2015, Super Bowl 50 MVP with the Denver Broncos. He'd like to win another championship. He felt that he might be the missing piece for the Commanders, and, obviously that was not meant to be last year for a host of reasons, most notably the health of Jaden Daniels. Now, this is a vote of confidence in the Dallas Cowboys. And yes, Von Miller is from Texas. Yes, he played collegiately at Texas A&M, so I'm sure there's an appeal there for Von Miller to play for Dallas, play for the Cowboys, play with the star on his helmet. But I think this is a vote of confidence in what the Cowboys can do this year. And obviously, he thinks so, or else I don't think he would have gone to Dallas to play for the Cowboys. And I'll keep saying it. Dallas to make the playoffs at BetMGM, our show sponsor, even money plus 100. I like that bet for Dallas to make the playoffs. It does scare me. It actually scares me quite a bit that a lot of people agree on Dallas. And I've been pounding this drum for months. Since even before the NFL draft, when Dallas had the 2 first-round picks and they got Caleb Downs and they got Malachi Lawrence, I've been in on the Dallas Cowboys. It scares me that a lot of people feel the same way. But sometimes in sports, and sometimes in life, everybody is just correct. And I feel like everybody's going to be correct on the 2 Texas teams, the Dallas Cowboys and the Houston Texans. A lot of people love the Texans this season. A couple other news items to hit in this opening segment on this Monday off the weekend that was in the NFL. So we have a good piece of news in Dallas signing Von Miller. Bad piece of news with the Minnesota Vikings. Linebacker Jamal Adams, who you're going to hear that and think linebacker. When did he play linebacker? Started playing linebacker last year. Obviously, the former high first-round pick at safety for the New York Jets. Converted to linebacker, played linebacker last year with the Raiders. Was going to be a linebacker in Brian Flores' defensive scheme in Minnesota. Torn ACL in Minnesota's Saturday preseason win at the New York Football Giants. And we'll get to Jackson Dart and Malachi Fields and everything that happened with Big Blue in a little bit. But Jamal Adams is done for the year. Now, Jamal Adams, even at the height of his powers, I guess at the height of his powers, he was pretty damn good. But no one's going to confuse Jamal Adams at this stage in his career with Bobby Wagner. That's not what this is. But I think what it does, and I want to be really fair here, as someone that has been very high on the Minnesota Vikings this entire offseason. And this is prior to them signing Kyler Murray, when I felt like it was going to happen, right? When Arizona clearly is not going to bring Murray back. They have to pay him for this year. He's going to sign with the minimum somewhere. I felt like it was going to be Minnesota. I've been saying this for a long time, that I like the Vikings this season. And I'm not going to back off that, not because of the Jamal Adams injury. But I think what this does, and if I'm going to be fair, as someone that is really like the Vikings, we need to be honest about something as it concerns the Minnesota Vikings defense. They are going to have to lean on a bunch of young players to not just play, but to play a lot and to play well. Rookies, Caleb Banks, who is the home run swing in the first rounds of the draft defensive tackle. Tantalizing potential, and all reports out of training camp are that he could be a monster. And if he is, that's going to be a big deal for this defense. Dominique Orange, Jake Golday, who I have in 4 dynasty leagues because I'm a sicko. They need Dallas Turner, the third-year pass rusher, really has to step up this year with Jonathan Grenard now in Philadelphia with the Eagles. And I think about this Vikings defense, especially if you look at the depth chart, right? Like Harrison Smith's not there anymore, and maybe they'll bring him back now with this Jamal. We'll see what happens with Harrison Smith. But you look at this Vikings defensive depth chart, and not really many of these names are going to smack you in the face and make you feel like, oh my God, like this deep. Like you look at the Texans defensive depth chart, studs at every level. Studs at every level. You don't necessarily feel that way when you look at the Minnesota Vikings depth chart. And what it's like, you ever watch the show Chopped? It's a great show. Chopped is one of these shows where they could have 1 million episodes and I think there have already been like 1 million episodes. There will never be a bad episode of Chopped. It's not possible. Every episode is just as good as the one they're all great. Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives, same thing. Food Network's onto something here, man. So the Vikings defense strikes me as an episode of Chopped where you get some weird-ass ingredients in that basket, right? Here's, gefilte fish with vanilla extract and, green beans or whatever. And you're wondering, how the hell is this master chef going to make a delicious meal out of these ingredients? Brian Flores is that master chef. And he's got a weird-ass basket in front of him. But you know what? I believe in Brian Flores. For my money, best defensive coordinator in the National Football League. Should be a head coach in the NFL, and I understand he's suing the league. I get it. I'm just saying. He is absolutely good enough to get another shot to be a head coach in the NFL, and I feel like he's going to get this figured out in Minnesota with this defense, with these young players. And I can't wait to see Banks, Orange, Golday, Turner, and the rest of the Vikings youngsters go up against Jordan Love and the Green Bay Packers in Minnesota on Sunday, September the 13th. Last note in the opening segment. I had a great weekend. I had an awesome weekend. Went to the beach on Saturday, and I'll just tell you, you have these moments in life, at least for me, right? And if you're of a certain age, you have kids, I think you'll appreciate what I'm saying. Where it's me and my wife and my 2-year-old daughter and friends of ours with their young child, and we took another young child in our family to the beach. And there's no other adults there, so my mom isn't there, my in-laws aren't there. It took me and my wife. And you have these moments where at the end of the day, when we're driving home, it's like, oh my God, I am a responsible adult. I'm in charge of all these young kids and their life and their well-being on this beach. And it's these great life moments, right? Where you feel like you're evolving a little bit, which doesn't mean that if you don't have kids, you're not evolving. I'm just giving you my experience. So I have this awesome weekend, right? And I'm very happy and I love my family and I love spending time with them, trying to soak up the last vestiges of summer before I am sitting in this chair for 5 months straight. And I love it, but I'm just saying, I'm trying to soak up the sun. I want to soak up the sun. Sheryl Crow? Who does that song? Anyway. And I'm in a great mood. And then I see this news, and it embarrasses me to say that this brought me way more displeasure and negative feelings than it had any right to on a great summer weekend for yours truly. This is an embarrassing thing to say. I'm being real with you, right? This is how much and I know you love this stuff too. Arizona, I can't even say this with a straight face. Arizona Cardinals rookie running back Jeremiah Love. The 3rd overall pick in this past April's NFL draft. Has a high ankle sprain. Not a regular ankle sprain. Not a low ankle sprain. The dreaded high ankle sprain. Why? Because in the Cardinals preseason game on Thursday night against the Las Vegas Raiders, which was a ridiculously entertaining preseason game, you got a Jacoby Brissett dot touchdown to Marvin Harrison, a ridiculous throw by Brissett. You had Fernando Mendoza. You had Mike Washington. We'll get to all of it. Very entertaining preseason game. But in this first preseason game, for some inexplicable reason, and they asked Mike LaFleur about it afterwards, his response to why did Jeremiah Love get 14 touches in the first preseason game? 3rd overall pick in the draft, 14 touches. We all watch football. Does that sound crazy to anybody? LaFleur's response, it's a rookie that hasn't played. Oh, great. 14 touches, high ankle sprain. 11 carries, 3 receptions for Jeremiah Love. High ankle sprain. Now, in case you don't know, and I'm not a doctor, I don't want to even do like that. I play one on, I don't want to do that joke. I'm not a doctor, but here's what I know. As someone that is obsessed with fantasy football, loves the National Football League, I love to bet. So I'm on top of things like this. High ankle sprains can be death to a skilled position player's season. The season. And I'm not insinuating that Jeremiah Love's going to be out for the year. Like, that's not going to happen. But, you know, the ESPN's Adam Schefter and others are reporting the Cardinals don't know if they'll have him, Jeremiah Love, Sunday, September 13th, week 1, season opener on the road at the LA Chargers. Ridiculous. Now, the Cardinals can get by without him. They can cover the spread without him. I absolutely think that's the case. Tyler Algier is fine. James Conner, we'll see if Trey Benson would be good to go in that game. But, like, you took him 3rd overall to give him the damn rock in the regular season. Not Thursday, like in mid-August against the Las Vegas Raiders. Is this crazy to anybody? 14 touches for Jared, because he's a rookie that hasn't played. So let's run him into the ground in a game that doesn't matter. And if you love fantasy football, forget about the fact, like, if you love just, like, rational decision-making, this is irrational by them. Of course, by the organization that brought you, taking a running back 3rd overall, which is insane, and I said it at the time, like, now brings you, let's give running back you took 3rd overall 14 touches in the first preseason game. Are you joking? Are you kidding? Are you kidding? Do you like fun football? Electrifying football players? Do you like when players on your fantasy team show up and show out? Do you like either watching a full game or watching Red Zone and breaking it and here's a sick highlight? Or watching a great spin move on social media? Watching good football as opposed to slop? I do. Jeremiah Love, for whatever you want to say, and I've said it, that you can't take running backs this early in the draft, especially if you're not ready to win and they're not. He a damn good football player. An exceptional football player, and is going to have moments this year, if he's healthy, where he is stellar and our jaws drop and he had a long touchdown runner catch and we're going to be like, wow, this is great. And I've been excited to take him in like the 3rd round of my fantasy drafts because he's not going early because he's on Arizona and Tyler Algier's there, right? And people think the Cardinals are going to stink, and they're probably right. High ankle sprain. Do you know what I can be wrong about this, right? Again, like, I'm not a doctor. So this is a little bit emotional by me, and I'm admitting that. They need to put this dude on ice. Like, if I'm them, I wouldn't play him in week 1. I'm being serious right now. And I've got him in a bunch of dynasty leagues. I would like for the Cardinals to be fun this year. You can't risk playing this guy in week 1. Because if he's not 100% with a high ankle sprain and that lingers, like, he's going to be ineffective the whole season. The high ankle sprain can be like a death sentence to a skilled position player. Not that they're not going to play, but that they're not going to be able to play to their full capabilities. It's a disaster. Like, he needs to be on ice until he's 100% healthy. And my sense is, like, they're saying they're hopeful he's going to play in the season opener. I can't say this with certitude. I can easily be wrong. My guess is he doesn't play. And if I were them, I wouldn't play him. I would not play him. And that sucks. That sucks to say. Because no one, unless your last name is Algier, like, let's be real, no disrespect to Tyler Algier, no one wants to watch week 1 Cardinals at Chargers to see Tyler Algier tote the rock 21 times. No one wants that. Like James Conner, great story. I don't need to see him with the ball 13 times in week 1. I don't want to see Trey Benson in a Cardinals uniform ever again. You know what I want to see? Jeremiah Love and Marvin Harrison and Michael Wilson and Trey McBride on what could be an exciting Arizona Cardinals offense. But no. 14 touches in the first preseason game, high ankle sprain. Great. Good stuff, guys. Great job, Mike LaFleur. Like, stellar bang-up work, Monty Ossenfort. Great job, guys. Ridiculous, right? I want them to be good. I would love it if their offense were fun. It would mean that we collectively are having more fun watching the NFL. But instead, maybe the most electric rookie at a skill position to come out of the draft this year now has a high ankle sprain. Unforced error. Like, all you have to slam it down the line for a point. Instead, they hit it into the net. Pathetic. Horrific. And it's things like this why bad teams stay bad. And I don't say that to be a jerk. I say it because it's true. All right. I'm going to collect myself during the break. We're going to get happier because a lot of good stuff happened this weekend in the NFL preseason. Oh, and also, by the way, for Arizona, rookie second-round guard Chase Besantis done for the year, torn MCL. I'm not going to make light of that one. That just sucks. For him, for the young man, and for Arizona. Some really bad luck for the Arizona Cardinals. All right. We are just getting started. Magnificent Sports Monday edition of You Better You Bet here on Westwood One Sports. On the other side, I will explain to all of you, and I think I've earned the credibility to do this because I've criticized both of them this offseason, why John Harbaugh and Jackson Dart are right. That and more from week 1 of the preseason coming up next on a Monday.
Second and 10. They bring pressure, and Dart gets blasted.
As far as the blue tent, like I really respect the rules and the thought behind NFL has of keeping players healthy and reviewing things, but at the same time, I'm still puzzled by it just feeling like every time that I get hit, I find my way in there.
Now, back to You Better You Bet with Nick Kostos, presented by BetMGM on Westwood One Sports.
This segment on You Better You Bet, sponsored by Progressive Commercial Insurance, protecting small businesses with affordable coverage options. Get a quote today at progressivecommercial.com, progressivecommercial.com. You heard the voice of Bob Papa calling Giants games from the Giants-Vikings preseason game on Saturday, which the Vikings won 13-10. Jackson Dart getting absolutely blown up on the final play of the first quarter by Viking safety Jay Ward on a missed block on a blitz pickup by Tyrone Tracy, which is brutal. Send Tyrone Tracy to Siberia if that's what this is going to be. Like, you cannot whiff on a block in preseason. Like, Von Miller's going to be rushing the passer in week 1. You're going to have this guy out there protecting him, protecting Dart? Come on. I'd rather have Devin Singletary out there. I'd rather have Mike Singletary out there if this is what Tyrone Tracy's going to be, trying to protect Jackson Dart on blitz protections, on blitz pickups. Brutal. So Dart gets destroyed. Like, insert joke here, because it happens way too often. This guy gets absolutely creamed. And I'll be honest, right? I'm going to defend him in a second here. You got to have better awareness than this. Like, the rusher is screaming towards him. He has no idea and just gets destroyed. So he's laying there on the ground, and I'm just like, really? Like, this is what's happening? So Dart goes to the blue medical tent, and everybody thinks the worst. And if you're watching the game, you're on social media, and you're seeing the clips, you're fearing the worst. Did he just get concussed? Well, turns out he would come right back into the game and would almost immediately have and this is the yin and the yang of Jackson Dart, right? Where he's capable of having plays like that, where he has no pocket presence and gets killed in the pocket, and then comes back and has this great extended play and throws a dart, pun intended, touchdown to rookie wide receiver Malachi Fields. And it's awesome, right? Because we talked about Fields last week and how it's a big deal for the Giants offense if Fields can ascend to wide receiver 2. And Fields has this great catch in the end zone, and it's a great play by Jackson Dart. It's like, man, can you just avoid injury, please? So after the game, you heard the soundbite from Jackson Dart. John Harbaugh would basically say the same thing. I can't believe that they checked him. And if you watch the hit, there's really no reason to think that he got concussed. And I'm not making light of concussions at all. At all. Just saying, I do think that Jermaine Illuminor, the Giants' right tackle, is correct when he says that it's Jackson Dart, and it's his history, and it's New York. And that's why he went to the blue medical tent. And I think that's true. I do. And I'm a Giants fan, right? And I'm honest about that. I'm an unabashed, diehard, lifelong New York football Giants fan. I want Jackson Dart to be good. Desperately want him to be good. I don't blindly defend him or the Giants organization. I said it, and a lot of people got really mad. It's not a political commentary, even though people want to take it as such. I didn't like Dart getting involved with the president. Whether the president is Republican or Democrat, I didn't think it was a good look for Dart. You can disagree. It's a free country. That's great. So I have not blindly defended Jackson Dart, but I'll defend him here. I didn't like that. I didn't think there was any reason for him to go get checked for a concussion. And I do think that part of this is residue left over from last year and the narrative around him. And we can have a conversation as to whether it's a narrative or whether it's reality. The proof will be in the pudding this season, where if he has to miss games with concussions, then it is now a story. For now, this feels like residue left over from last year. And I did not love that from the NFL. Even if you want to say, well, let's make sure, and let's make sure he's good, and we don't want to mess around with brain injuries. I get it. Just ask yourself this question. Let's make this less of a, do we want to check for brain injuries? And more, if it were Sam Darnold that took that hit, Is he going to blue medical tent? Is he? Is that fair? If it were Tyler Shuck that took that hit, blue medical tent? I'm not so sure. So I didn't like that. Hated the Tyrone Tracy missed blitz pickup, but loved the Jackson Dart touchdown pass to Malachi Fields. That was good stuff in an otherwise nondescript performance from both the Giants and the Vikings. And just to say, Kyler Murray barely played in the game. J.J. McCarthy comes in, doesn't give you much. And we'll do a little Chargers-Texans later, or maybe not. Maybe this will be it. Chargers and Texans had a preseason game on Thursday night. Chargers won 27-7. No one of any importance on either side really played in the game. Just to say, a lot of people, you bet on this Monday, Nick Kostos and you, Westwood One Sports. A lot of people, I don't think I'm going to be one of them, but a lot of people are really high on the Chargers this year. Mike McDaniel, I've described this going from Greg Roman to Mike McDaniel, like going from a Ford Pinto to a Ferrari in terms of calling the offense for the Chargers. Jim Harbaugh, year 3. Been to the playoffs the last 2 years. Justin Herbert's been bad in those playoff games, but you want to keep taking bites at the apple. And Herbert's obviously a stud, and we'll see about Slater and Alt and them being fully ready for week 1. There is reason for optimism. If Justin Herbert is to get hurt, and forget about miss the season, like any team is screwed if their starting quarterback's down, right? But let's say he needs to miss 4 weeks. I hope it doesn't happen. The Chargers' backup quarterback right now is Trey Lance. Lance make her dance. Lance make her dance. I'd say the rest of the lyrics, but I'd like to keep my job. It's Trey Lance and DJ Uiagalelei, formerly of Clemson. And then where did he end his career? Washington State for DJU, Oregon State. It's Florida State. It's just imagine Florida State and Oregon State for DJ Uiagalelei. So if Justin Herbert were to get hurt, Trey Lance? Really? Now, I will be not the first person, not even the millionth person, like the million and first person to say this. If you've been paying attention, and you don't have to, I pay attention so you don't have to. Since the Vikings named Kyler Murray their starting quarterback, Carson Wentz has been getting more reps in training camp than J.J. McCarthy. Max Brosmer is injured now, so maybe they keep... I don't know what's going to happen here. All I know is this. Jim Harbaugh won a national title at Michigan with J.J. McCarthy. Whenever he opens his mouth, you would think that J.J. McCarthy is a cross between Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes. He clearly has affection for McCarthy. Not that he would start McCarthy over Justin Herbert. That's not going to happen. Go get J.J. McCarthy to back up Justin Herbert, right? Don't we want to see that? Because ask yourself this question. If Kyler Murray got hurt today, who's starting week 1 for the Vikings? Carson Wentz or J.J. McCarthy? Now, you might say McCarthy because they had this quarterback competition between Murray and McCarthy. I think it's Carson Wentz. I think Wentz would start, not J.J. McCarthy. So if you're the Chargers and if you're the Vikings, go make this happen. This is an easy one. A layup from me to you. L.A., go trade for J.J. McCarthy. On the other side, we will stay in Los Angeles and talk about the preseason debut of Ty Simpson and the LA Rams and hit on more news from the weekend that was in the National Football League on Westwood One Sports.
Simpson to the end zone, caught. Touchdown Rams. Dean Connors with his second touchdown of the game.
Now, back to You Better You Bet with Nick Kostos, presented by BetMGM on Westwood One Sports.
Today, BetMGM players will receive an Any Sport Parlay Boost token. To use the Parlay Boost token, add a parlay wager to your bet slip and activate that token. If you win the wager made with the token, you'll receive extra winnings. Download the BetMGM app today, and please, 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 gamble responsibly. NFL Network, courtesy of the call there, a very positive debut in the preseason for Los Angeles Rams rookie quarterback, 13th overall pick in the draft, Ty Simpson. If you look, and I am going to throw a little cold water on this, not to be a hater, but because I think it requires context. Ty Simpson, 21 of 25 against the Chiefs B team, but still, like, he played well. I'm not saying he played poorly. 21 of 25. 190 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. Dean Connors, I don't know who that is, and I know like every player. Had a couple of receiving touchdowns. God bless. I think might be a fullback. God bless him. Stetson Bennett did start the game for the LA Rams. So Simpson looked good, and I'm not going to say otherwise. Worth noting, average depth of target for Ty Simpson, or like average like length of throw down the field, like 5 yards. The lowest mark in the NFL last year was 6.5. So this was all like underneath, had like one decent throw down the field, but for the most part, these are all really short throws. I don't mean this as a criticism. He played well. I just want to say, like, let's put this in its proper perspective and context. He didn't start the game. Stetson Bennett did. And I'm still going to hold to what I said last week on the show. And Mike Sando agreed with me off air, and we talked about it a little bit on the air when he joined us. If Matthew Stafford were to suffer a season-ending injury or like a long-term injury, if it's only like a couple of weeks, then fine. Like Stetson Bennett, whatever. Stetson Bennett would probably play. My feeling is Jimmy Garoppolo would end up being the Rams starting quarterback. And I understand that Jimmy G is not currently on the Rams or an NFL roster. He said earlier this offseason he was going to retire, and now there are reports that have filtered out that he would be willing to come back. Gee, I wonder why. Because the team that he's been with, the LA Rams, could probably use a veteran in a must-win year where they have kind of set this up where it's Super Bowl or bust. Can you really, if you're the LA Rams, and I know I did this in full last week, so just to say it again, can you really go into a must-win year, Super Bowl or bust year, with Stetson Bennett as the one play away quarterback, or Ty Simpson as the one play away quarterback? I don't think Jimmy Garoppolo's Joe Montana or Steve Young or even Brock Purdy. I'll tell you what, you would trust him in a big spot more than you would the other two. Right? Fair? Fair or unfair? I think it's fair. You better you bet on this Monday. Nick Kostos and you, Westwood One Sports. So Ty Simpson, 13th overall pick in the NFL draft. What about the first overall pick in the NFL draft? Fernando Mendoza of your Las Vegas Raiders. Got his first game action as a Raider, albeit in the preseason, of course, on Thursday night in the loss to the Arizona Cardinals. Kirk Cousins starts the game, and touchdown drive for the Raiders to Michael Mayer, by the way, who, if you recall, we know the Raiders took Brock Bowers in the first round a couple years ago, and Brock Bowers, if he keeps this up, he's going to the Hall of Fame. I'm not saying he's going to, just that he's on a Hall of Fame trajectory early in his career, right? That's true. The Raiders had spent a second-round pick on a Mackey Award winner, shout out to my buddy Evan Silver from Establish the Run, had taken Mackey Award winner, best tight end in the nation, out of Notre Dame, Michael Mayer, in the second round prior to taking Bowers in the first round. Now, Mayer has battled on-field injuries and has been open about some of his struggles with mental health, and I'm happy that he seems to be doing well. He looked awesome in this preseason game. And if he's really good, think about what that allows Clint Kubiak to do with this Raiders offense. With Bowers and Mayer and Genty and Mike Washington, who we'll get to in a second. But first on Mendoza. 10 of 16, 97 yards. Now, and had one beautiful ripped pass over the middle of the field to Jack Pesh. You know my opinion. The Raiders are wasting time starting anyone other than Fernando Mendoza. And that doesn't mean that Kirk Cousins doesn't give them a better chance to win in week 1 against the Miami Dolphins than Mendoza does. You can easily make that case with Cousins' vast NFL experience. I wouldn't argue against that. But the Raiders, their goal for this year is not like to win week 1 against Miami. You'd love to, of course. No one wants to lose. But the goal needs to be like this season is a success for the Raiders, not if they're in the hunt on the graphic to make the AFC wildcard spot in like week 15 with Kirk Cousins starting. The win for the Raiders this year is if Fernando Mendoza's good. Like if we exit this season and we can definitively say Mendoza's the guy, season's a success no matter what happens with wins and losses. If we know that Mendoza's the guy and if Clint Kubiak's got it as the head coach. Just play him. Like I don't know what we need to see. National champion, Heisman winner. He's an athletic freak. He's got the goods. Just play it. They're not going to. It pisses me off. They should be playing him. They should be playing Fernando Mendoza. How about Mike Washington, the Raiders' 4th-round running back? Ripped off a 53-yard run. He has just a freakish size-speed combo, like 6 foot. Tyler, how tall is Mike? Was he 6'3"? Ran 4.3 at the combine. Had a 53-yard great block by Jack Besh to spring him here. I think what's going to be funny, and I'm not saying this is true, but it's not outside the realm of possibility that, a month, 6 weeks into the NFL season, is it possible that we'll all be saying, you know what I'm going to say, right? Is Mike Washington better than Ashton Genty? I'm not saying he is. Just that, Genty was bad last year, bad offensive line. Maybe we'll be much better this year. Mike Washington showed you something pretty good in the first preseason game. Last note for now, and we will hit a bunch more, including Drew Aller. We'll get to Deshaun Watson. We'll talk about Tua Tagovailoa. Chip Patterson from CBS Sports will join us to start next hour. But, the Bengals played the Lions on Thursday night, and Detroit played nobody in the game. None of Detroit's starters played. But Cincy played Joe Burrow and company for the first couple series of the game. And on the Bengals' first series, if you're a Bengals fan, you had to be just crestfallen to watch this. Orlando Brown gets beaten like a drum by, I'm going to try and pronounce the last name correctly, Ahmad Hussein. I don't think I'm pronouncing that correctly. My apologies. Just flattens Burrow. Now, Burrow gets up and he's good to go, but you spend the whole lot, and not me, I'm worried about the Bengals offensive line and the defense, but some people believe, and maybe they'll be right, that this is going to be a super season in Cincinnati for Joe Burrow and the Bengals. You want to talk bad omens? How about Joe Burrow getting flattened like a pancake on the first drive of the preseason? Just left tackle whiffs on a block, franchise quarterback driven into the ground. I don't like the Cincinnati Bengals to make the playoffs this year in a crowded AFC. Hour 1 done, hour 2 for you coming up on the other side. More on the NFL preseason, but we will start the hour talking college football with friend of mine and friend of yours, Chip Patterson of the Cover 3 podcast, here on You Better You Bet.
with Nick Kostos.
Hey, this is Joe Buck, and you have done it. You have found it. You are listening to You Better You Bet. Great decision.
This is Bob Costas, not Kostos, but you are listening to Nick Kostos on You Better You Bet.
Hi, this is Kevin Harlan of CBS, Westwood One, and TNT, and I'm listening as you do every day to You Better You Bet with the most handsome single man in the radio business. A man who, if I was not married for 38 years, I might consider myself the kind of guy that can electrify a listening audience and a crowd of bystanders watching him do what he does so well each and every day. Continue to listen right here on You Better You Bet.
This is You Better You Bet on Westwood One Sports, brought to you by BetMGM.
The magnificent Sports Monday edition of You Better You Bet rolls on. Nick Kostos, our crew, and you here on Westwood One Sports. I am so obsessed, not just with the first hour of today's show, because I am, but with this time of year. There's so much going on in football, and I love talking about all of it. We got to the Von Miller signing of the Dallas Cowboys, why I love it for Dallas, why I think the Cowboys will go to the playoffs this year. The Jamal Adams season-ending injury in Minnesota, and while that is not a big deal on the surface, I think it really bears for everybody to see how the Vikings defense this year, and I think they're going to make it happen. I love Brian Flores. You're going to need contributions from a bunch of rookies and young players that we haven't seen do it thus far at the NFL level in order to get Kyler Murray and Minnesota to the playoffs. I think it's going to happen, but it's worth thinking about if you like Minnesota like I do, you're going to need that to happen to get the Vikings into the postseason. How asinine it was for Jeremiah Love to get 14 touches in the first preseason game, now a high ankle sprain. This is why bad teams like the Arizona Cardinals stay bad. We talked about Jackson Dart. We got into Ty Simpson, Fernando Mendoza. So much more to come from week 1 of the NFL preseason. But did you know this, dear listener and dear viewer? Actually, I'm going to ask 2 questions right now. Did you know, number 1, we are 12 days away from college football. 12 days. August 29th, which means do the arithmetic. Today's August 17th. We will get to watch North Carolina, Bill Belichick, maybe Mike Lombardi, probably not, and the Tar Heels play TCU. Remember what happened last year when those 2 teams played. They're renewing pleasantries. USC will be in action coming up in 12 days. That is the first thing. Did you know? The second question I have, did you know that the Cover 3 College Football Podcast is the number 1 college football podcast in all the land? I bet you did know that. And you also know that the host of the Cover 3 podcast is the great Chip Patterson, who also happens to be a friend of mine. And I always love welcoming Chip Patterson to You Better You Bet. You can find the Cover 3 podcast with Chip, Danny Cannell, friends of the show, Bud Elliott, Tom Fornelli, wherever you find your podcasts, and follow Chip on social media, only if you love college football, which I think everybody does, at Chip_Patterson. My friend, welcome back to the show. Happy football season to you and yours.
Happy football season to you too, Nick. It is awesome to be with you. And I'm with you that there's something about, I try to explain to other people, the anticipation for football season in some ways is a busier time for us. It is a busier time for me. There are so many fan bases that are locked in and just want every little nugget of information and analysis. And I'm here to be there for you. I'm here to provide that public service of nuggets and analysis right up until the time that your team goes 0-3 to start the season and you check out. It's okay. I understand.
And you don't have to talk about them anymore also, which is the other thing to say. Right? You don't have to taltalk about them anymore if they start 0-3.
Well, right now, 138 teams exist to me, Nick. 138 teams exist, and I'm locked in and ready to go. It is the best time of year.
Dude, I did a minute on Mike Washington for the Raiders in the first. Like, this is the time of year where we collectively live in the minutia. So you, the audience, so you don't have to. We are mired in the minutia of the NFL and college football, so you don't have to be. And Chip does an awesome job, again, as the host of the Cover 3 podcast. So I got a lot of topics I want to hit on you with, my friend. Let's start, though, with this Jaden Daniels mess, just because I think it's something that's become a crossover story, not just college football. With Daniels, he's pissed at LSU, and maybe his mom's annoyed as well, that Pickett, the young corner, is going to wear number 5 this year. I kind of defended Daniels a little bit on Thursday. I can kind of understand where he's coming from, given some of the other numbers retired by LSU didn't accomplish what Daniels accomplished, winning a Heisman Trophy. Let's just start here, because I think everyone has an interest in this story. Your opinion on Jaden Daniels, the number 5 in LSU.
I just would not take an antagonistic position against Louisiana State University football. Fundamentally, sun rises, sun sets. LSU football is a different beast than anything else we have in America. There is no other place where an entire state is so uniquely motivated to be able to funnel all of its best and brightest and all of its resources. And if you go and check the history, I mean all of its resources. They'll take money from anywhere to try to make sure LSU football stays good. The governor will handpick a head coach to make sure that LSU football is competing for national championships. And I understand that in this modern era, our stars and certainly our quarterbacks have kind of become individual LLCs, businesses upon themselves, ecosystems with which it feels like the world surrounds. But Jaden, I promise you that Rookie of the Year ain't nothing compared to LSU football. And that's even putting like Louisiana voodoo to the side, which again, I would not mess with that either. More of a man of faith, try to stay on the other side of the street of all that hoodoo. Now, I think if I was Jaden Daniels, you've got to realize that while you feel like you are very large right now, you go down to the Superdome when they're doing the state championships, 1A, 2A, 3A, 4A, 5A, 6A, and dadgummit, every single championship game is either going to have a team with the colors purple and gold or their name is the Tigers. They are brainwashing every level of football through the whole talent-rich state of Louisiana. And that's the other thing, Jaden, you're not from there, to which I will provide one last counterexample. There was a quarterback who was born in the state of Oklahoma, Oklahoma City. He was bred to be a Sooners quarterback. Won a Heisman Trophy. Had the Sooners as one of the best teams in the country. He wore number 14. His name was Sam Bradford. Nick, there are 2 14s on Oklahoma's roster right now. Not just 1, 2. And he was a homegrown, in-state Heisman Trophy winning superstar. So I am coming at this entirely from a college standpoint, to which I think no one is really bigger than those iconic programs.
I love that. And you can see why Cover 3 is so popular, why Chip's so popular, because he's absolutely the best. All right, let's stick with LSU here. They're such a fascinating team this year, right? And once these games start, I can't wait to see Sam Leavitt, and I can't wait to see Lane Kiffin on the sidelines. Obviously, playing at Ole Miss in September is going to be must-watch TV. I can't wait for it. Chip, where are you at right now on LSU? A team that people that bet for a living seem to kind of be all over. Are they going to make the playoff? Maybe yes, maybe no. National championship odds kind of up there on the board. Your opinion on LSU this season?
Rightly slotted on the odds board, given the uncertainty of a roster that has been cobbled together. Because Lane Kiffin had a little bit of a first mover advantage with the way he was able to utilize the transfer portal at Ole Miss, it is okay to afford some benefit of the doubt and say he flipped his roster at Ole Miss every single season and had them win in 9, 10, 11 games. That's some of the Lane Kiffin era at Ole Miss is one of the peaks in that school's 100-plus year history. So if you want to say, hey, look, he's going to go and he's got a roster that I think is even more talented than what he had at Ole Miss, the only thing is combustibility. It is the Lane train, and it is Lane Kiffin, and the schedule is brutal. A lot of really, really tricky spots on there. I am on the heavier side because these 2 reasons, and it's entirely personnel-based. I think they loaded up the wide receiver room. You mentioned Sam Leavitt. I think that what they've got in terms of what he can throw to is absolutely dynamic. I am a little worried about the run game in terms of like a national championship contender. If you were to try to do, confidence and concerns, making sure that they're going to be able to run the football better after they were woeful doing that last year. I mean, really the last 2 seasons of LSU football are one of the reasons why fans are so excited for Lane Kiffin, because this team didn't even score 30 points most days. And Lane Kiffin had Ole Miss putting up 30, 40 points regularly, whether you had a Jackson Dart, whether you had a Trinidad Chambliss. So Sam Leavitt, dynamic wide receivers. I think this offense is going to get up and go. I love their pass rushers. I think they'll be able to get after the passer. And so those are things personnel-wise that does have me leaning on the side of being more optimistic. I'm over on their win total. I do think they're going to be in the mix for one of those last playoff spots when you see me fill out a projected bracket. But what does that mean? It means they're 10th, right? It means they're 9th. Means they're probably the 3rd or 4th team in the SEC in terms of the pecking order. To me, that is a rightly rated for the questions they have to answer, the combustibility factor, but also the high talent level at positions that matter to me, which include those pass-catching positions and the edge rusher.
Once we get past Chip, LSU, and Lane Kiffin, and this Jaden Daniels saga and nonsense, 12 days out from the first games, what is your favorite storyline as college football gets set to return to our lives, and why?
No one is number one. If I was to fill out, like we're having the AP Top 25 polls coming out, if we were truthfully going to have an AP Top 25 poll, we'd have a 7-way tie for second place. And then you know what? The next team
what I
would
love
probably
about
be
this?
17.
Can I interrupt you? Can I interrupt you just to say this? Normally, I ask a question like that, which is like, man, that's kind of like a heavy question. You can take it anywhere you want. Chip answered it about half a second, and he had a brilliant, didn't know the question was coming, and had an amazing answer. Please continue. 7 teams tied for second.
Yeah, 7 teams that are tied for second, and I think they're all a definitive tier amongst anybody else that I can even feel confident about. I've got all these teams that I'm looking at where I feel confident they're going to make the college football playoff, and I've got so many questions in terms of picking them for winning the national championship. And I mean, really simply, you can almost like dance your way around the country. Ohio State, Oregon, Indiana out of the Big Ten, Georgia and Texas out of the SEC. You go and you pick up Notre Dame, you go and you pick up Miami, and that's about it. Like, I understand Texas Tech will probably be able to talent their way over the rest of the Big 12, but I'm in any big picture national conversation, I'm not there. And what does that mean? That means every single week is a referendum. Every single week is, if you are number one, you better prove that you're number one. We are going to see divided votes. We are going to see that first place position and the jockeying in the top 5. It is going to be a week by week because no one believes that there is an alpha right now, but there is a great collection of, again, about 7 teams that I think all could have a case to be the number one team in the country. And now they've got to go earn it on the field. And that's so different than the years when it was like, all right, is it Clemson and Alabama or Alabama and Clemson? You know, like we just have a much larger picture of teams at the very top of the sport. And yet the intrigue that's driving, I think, the first 4, 5, 6 weeks of the season is going to be how they settle into position for the title race.
To quote, and listen, you're a Carolina guy, Ric Flair, a Carolina guy. If I can quote the legendary Ric Flair, the only way you get to stay number one is to be number one. All right, so you said 7 teams could potentially be number one. As it stands right now, Chip Patterson, who is your number one in college football?
It's the team that has a national championship winning coach, a Heisman finalist quarterback, and a player who could have been NFL ready from the day he set foot on campus. It is the Ohio State Buckeyes. When you've got Julian Sayin, Jeremiah Smith, Ryan Day, loaded staff, their questions are still there. I've got a couple, interior offensive line is good. Tackles, we just have some proven to do, including utilizing the transfer portal. Defense lost a ton, Caleb Downs and more, but I kind of like the way that they backfilled. Great story here from inside Ohio State. So Ohio State has 2 transfers from Alabama. Caleb Downs basically gave him the scouting report. He goes to coach. He's like, Coach, I know that I'm on my way out the door, but I care about Ohio State being great. And these guys are not being utilized and can be better in our program. I mean, Caleb Downs has been one of my favorite players to watch just based on what he's done. But everything I've heard about that young man and the way he's handled himself, I mean, I will continue. I don't really have a favorite NFL team. I'm still college brain on most Sundays. I can't ride those highs and lows. I got work to do, Nick. But I will cheer for Caleb Downs because I think Ohio State doesn't utilize the portal a lot. But when they do, it's to get a player like Caleb Downs or to get someone who can really help them be better. Right now, I've got Ohio State as my number one team. But we get that game on the road in Austin. They beat that talent-rich Texas team in their own house. Hell yeah, you are the number one. But referendum. They've also got to prove it against another team in Texas that I think a lot of people would put as their number one as well.
You bet on this Monday. Nick Kostos and you, Westwood One Sports. Our guest talking college football, the very entertaining Chip Patterson, host of the Cover 3 podcast, CBS Sports, on Twitter at Chip_Patterson. So I look at Texas, right, Chip? And you're way more in the college football weeds in a good way than I am, right? And I see Arch, and I know Cam Coleman's there. And from what everything people I respect say, this is the most talented team in the country. And yet, I think about Sark, right, wrong, or indifferent, and this is like you say you have college football brain. I have more NFL brain, and I think about Sark as the Falcons offensive coordinator in that wild card game in Philadelphia against the Eagles, or a divisional round game in Philadelphia, just brutal play calling down by the red zone. He's really difficult to trust. What about Sark and Texas this year? And people like me, Chip, that would say, I don't trust Texas because I don't trust Steve Sarkisian in a big spot.
Oh, you can just look at last season where they started top 5 and finished in the Cheez-It Bowl. I mean, there's just no reason that a team that talented
true? They were in the
finish the year with King Shedward. You shouldn't be with King Shedward at the end of the year. I'm sorry. No free ads. I like Cheez-Its as much as the next guy, but
yeah, they're
if
delicious.
You got a team with Arch Manning and all that talent, you shouldn't be with King Shedward on the stage. That should be a Peach Bowl trophy. That should be a Cotton Bowl trophy. They underperformed last season. They were in a dogfight with Kentucky. They were in a dogfight with Mississippi State. I mean, you talk about Falcons experience. We can just talk about Texas Longhorns 2025 underperformance. Yeah. So that's what they have to prove. Because you're right. The on paper in a talent ratings world, Texas is a better argument for number one than in the more subjective, the way I see these teams stacking up against each other. One wrinkle I would add to that, if you want to push yourself into feeling better about Texas, it is a narrative that I do not believe, but it is a narrative they are selling. This is the narrative marketplace here, right? It's August 17th. They are selling that the addition of Will Muschamp as defensive coordinator is going to add to a more aggressive, up
What
in your
year is
face,
this?
blitzing from every direction. Like, okay, we'll see. I thought Texas's defense was a strength the last 2 seasons. I don't think that was the problem, but everyone's got their own different read of the program. And if you are going to use a talent-focused analysis, you can't even make a top 4 without including the Texas Longhorns. But the question remains, and it'll start to be answered when they play Ohio State early in the year, what are you going to do with all that talent? It does seem to me like this is a season that is set up for them to have the next breakthrough. And I do want, if we're gonna have some Steve Sarkisian slander on here, I do want to give him this flowers for this. He took the Texas is back narrative and put it to bed. We don't even ask if Texas is back. He made the Final Four twice. He put Texas in position to compete for the national championship. Quinn Ewers was driving against Washington, and if they get that catch in the end zone, they get to go play Michigan, and who knows? Maybe Texas is able to put up more of a fight against Michigan, a Connor Stallions-less Michigan, it should be noted, than what Washington and Michael Penix were able to do. So I want to give Steve Sarkisian credit for doing what Tom Herman was not able to do, what Charlie Strong was not able to do, and really force that thing all the way through in terms of bringing Texas back to the national stage. But the criticisms can still be there that, all right, you are at the big boy table. We're not talking about 8-4, but we are talking about the trophy case. And the trophy case does not have an SEC title yet. And while you've made the Final Four, it does not have a national title yet. So there's still something left to be proven.
Let's go lightning round here, Chip. Want to hit you with a couple more questions, like 30 to 60 seconds per. So I don't, because I could keep you here the whole hour. I don't want to do that for you. And also, we have commercial breaks we have to hit. Fair or unfair, and why to say that Dan Lanning, well, a great recruiter, and obviously he's not a bad coach, maybe not the best big game coach, and because of him, you or me would not take Oregon to win the national championship. Fair or unfair, and why?
Not fair. Watch the way that he steals possessions. That guy has the game book, the when to onsides, when to be able to go for 2 versus not go for 2. He might be getting in his own way because he's so advanced and deep into all the situational stuff. But do you remember the 12 men on the field penalty against Ohio State 2 years ago in the regular season? Yeah, there's enough people within football who feel like they got by Dan. That in a chess match, he's like, "Oh, rats! I just didn't even see the bishop there." I think that to call him not a good big game coach is to go against the idea that he's made great decisions to steal possessions in big games. So not fair.
C.J. Carr of Notre Dame will be the blank best quarterback in college football this season.
Top 3. Yeah, a relitigation of C.J. Carr's season last year had a lot of recognition for how he's putting all of his talent together.
What happened, Chip, if they were more aggressive in that game against Miami, the season opening game? We could be having an entirely different conversation here. They were so conservative offensively in that game against Miami.
And do you know what the thing is? He is going to crush 10 opponents this year. They've got to go play BYU and Provo. They've got to go up against Miami. CJ Carr might not be playing fourth quarters. He might just be going out there and lighting it up. But I think that he is on tape, certainly a top 3 quarterback in the country. And I think that if you want to look at him for Heisman, it would be that overwhelming, puts up stupid numbers because Notre Dame's so much better than the competition.
Carr is the co-favorite at BetMGM to win the Heisman Trophy, along with Arch Manning. Trinidad Chambliss of Ole Miss next, plus 900. Gold all on his chain, gold all on his watch. Dante Moore, Julian Sayin, and new Miami quarterback Darian Mensah following from there. Final question, Chip. I find it interesting that if you look at the SEC and the Big Ten, and this can be up for debate, I think it's fair to say probably, right? If you had to pick one head coach in the Big Ten, you'd probably take Curt Cignetti. And there are other good coaches also. If you had to take one head coach in the SEC, I think I would take Kirby Smart of Georgia. Neither Georgia nor Indiana the favorite in their respective conference. If I asked you, Chip, to pick one of these teams to win the national championship, Georgia with Kirby Smart, Curt Cignetti with Josh Hoover replacing Fernando Mendoza at quarterback, who do you got and why?
I would go Indiana. Yeah, I think that Indiana's playoff run answered the questions about whether Indiana was smoke, mirrors, and schedule. They lined up toe-to-toe and just absolutely blew Alabama out of the water. They got another look at Oregon, and it wasn't close. And Miami played them well, but by the end of the day, you include Ohio State in the Big Ten championship game, they had beaten 6 of the top 10 teams. Georgia's been one and done in the last 2 college football playoffs. The last college football playoff win was blowing the doors off TCU so bad the Georgia players are eating chicken wings out of the floor, out of the field level suites. Georgia's got to go prove it in the 12-team playoff. So I would take Indiana and Kurt Cignetti.
I'm still mad at Michigan for losing that. Not that Michigan would have beaten Georgia, but probably would have been a better game in the national championship than we got with Georgia and TCU. I lied. Final question is this one.
Okay.
So I think I've said this a couple times when you've been on the air with us. When you and I were coworkers together at CBS, I think we did it 3 times, but we definitely did it twice. Okay. Yeah. So we had Mississippi State. Who was the guy, the Fordham coach who went there that was at Mississippi State? Joe Moorhead. So we had a Mississippi State over, and then my favorite one, blindly betting the Cal over in Jared Goff's final year in Cal, and they went over the win total. So we were at least 2-0, if not 3-0. I would like Chip Patterson, and this can be, we could go Indiana, we could go, shopping at the bottom of the barrel here if you'd like. Chip Patterson's favorite win total. We'd prefer an over, but if you have an under, we'd like that as well.
Okay. What's our number sitting at for the Oklahoma Sooners? Do you have a 7.5, or is the 7.5 too crazy and we're looking at 8.5?
We're probably like at BetMGM, it over 7.5 is minus 155, but we would, we want people to bet at BetMGM, but if you could find a better price, shop around for this instance.
I think Oklahoma goes 10-2 again.
Ooh.
Yeah. Let's, and maybe that's Oklahoma. What?
Playoff?
Yeah, I was going to say, actually, if they're going to be 10-2, they're making the playoff. So maybe it's Oklahoma to make the playoff. I am stupid high on the Sooners. I thought they went 10-2 last season with half of an offense. And crazy for me to think that they might be able to find the other half of the offense after improving the wide receiver room to get John Mateer some more weapons. Another year of development for John Mateer, who, by the way, just started playing SEC level football. I think they're going to run the football better. And their defense is still nails. They've got All-Americans at all 3 levels, whether it's David Stone, Kip Lewis, or Peyton Bowen. So, I am stupid high on Oklahoma. And that's one where I thought that compared to the market, if we had to pick it at 7.5, and I recognized the juice was bad. So that's why I wanted to tell you, I've seen a 10-2 type season for Oklahoma. That would be one that I'm probably feeling a little bit high on. And I feel I can say it with my chest. I feel like I am a game and a half, 2.5 games higher than some of the lines that are out there right now. And I see it happening. I think Boomer Sooners back in the playoff.
John Mateer is saying it with his chest, and maybe the bench press, because he is huge. If you look at, John Mateer got yoked this offseason. He's, massive. I don't know if that's going to be a problem or not. Chip, you're the best. Cover 3 podcast, the best college football podcast out there. Our friends at CBS Sports. Follow Chip on Twitter at Chip_Patterson. My friend, thank you very much.
Sounds good. Y'all be well.
My friend Chip Patterson joining us here on You Better You Bet. Very generous with his time. 20 awesome minutes breaking down college football. Games are 12 days away. All right, we'll take a break. And on the other side, we had an injury scare. This is how fast news moves in 2026, right? We had a big-time injury scare to a big-time NFL running back. It looks like things are going to be okay. We'll tell you who it is on the other side, and we will also get into a big piece of news. I don't know how often we'll say this sentence this year, out of Miami with the Dolphins that should have fans and fantasy football players very excited. That and more coming up next on a Monday.
I mean, it was so cool to watch him play. I mean, I get all of the frustration by fans, himself, but for him to come back and work like he did is an unbelievable credit to him. And then to go out there, he was having fun today. And that is so cool. And I thought he really functioned at a high level.
Now, back to You Better You Bet with Nick Kostos, presented by BetMGM on Westwood One Sports.
So just for bleeps and giggles, that's the voice of Stan Van Gundy, ESPN NBA analyst, former NBA coach. Just kidding. That's Cleveland Browns head coach Todd Monken. So as he's talking, if you listen to Todd Monken, he sounds just like Stan Van Gundy, right? And I asked in the chat, who does he sound like to our show crew? There's a correct answer here. And immediately the answer was Stan Van Gundy. So the crew's on it. Laura says Doc Rivers. So there have actually been a couple instances this offseason where we played Todd Monken and he sounds like Doc Rivers. So sometimes he does sound like Doc. Doc and Van Gundy have different like vocal tones. Is that the right way to put it? I don't know. This would be an instance where if I were like amongst like friends of mine or like family, I would just make something up and they wouldn't know any better and would just assume I'm right. It's one of the reasons I've gotten ahead in life. Fake it till you make it. He sounds just like Stan Van Gundy there. So that is the head coach of the Cleveland Browns, Todd Monken, talking about Deshaun Watson's performance in the Browns' preseason loss on Saturday to the Chicago Bears. We will break down Deshaun Watson, Shadur Sanders, and we will get into Tua Tagovailoa and the Falcons in a moment. But I want to get into a couple pieces of news that broke while we've been on the air this morning, both emanating from the AFC East. And this is just, news moves very fast in 2026, right? And we can kind of get a little scared when we see things like this. Breece Hall, star running back of the Jets, who got the big money contract, and I'm kind of high on the Jets this year. Not like to be great, but I think they could be in the mix for the final wild card spot in the AFC. Breece Hall left practice per ESPN's Rich Cimini with a groin injury, and fantasy football players begin melting down. Jets fans start melting down. Aaron Glenn addressed the news media, the head coach of the Jets, to say that he thinks that it's a strained groin and he thinks Breece is going to be fine. So we'll get more information, obviously, but that's a good sign, right, for the head coach to basically say, I don't think this is that big a deal. We'll see, but a good sign early in the process here. Breece Hall looks like a strained groin. No, I guess we probably won't see him in the preseason this week. I don't know. We shall find out. And elsewhere in the AFC East, if you're a Miami Dolphin fan, this has got to really excite you. So, and I'll kind of dovetail this in the moment here with Miami's preseason game, which they lost to the Commanders. Who cares? Whatever. They lost 20-7 to Washington. So in that game, Caleb Douglas, who we talked about on Thursday, right? Who was, mid-round rookie, who has a starting position currently on the depth chart along with Malik Washington, had a sick, over-the-shoulder 28-yard catch. And it's early, right? It's one game, so he could stink. I'm not saying he's your Mark Duper or Mark Clayton. Looked pretty good. And reports out of training camp have been great. Now, there was another receiver, though, that Miami took in the NFL draft that really had people excited. And that is Chris Bell. Do I have that right, Tyler and company? Chris Bell's Louisville, right? I don't know what. Chris Brazel's Tennessee, Chris Bell's Louisville. Yes. Chris Bell has a insane size speed combo. And he tore his ACL towards the end of last year at Louisville, which is why he went a little later in the NFL draft. And the thought was, and this is crazy, because we're now seeing a lot of players, we think they're going to be out for a really long time, and they're returning from injuries sooner than expected. Like Daniel Jones looks like he's going to play week 1. George Kittle might play week 1. Zach Charbonnet could be back sooner than expected. Hell, Ozzie Trapillo tore his patellar tendon in the playoffs for the Bears. He might be back for week 1. They just activated him. As crazy as that sounds. Meanwhile, Kurt Angle wrestled with a broken freaking neck in WWE. That's 25 years ago, and we thought he was a medical anomaly. It's awesome stuff here. As and I was reading something over the weekend, and I've just been having this conversation with people. This has nothing to do with anything, but just to say this. I know, and I get it, right? I like science fiction. You're like, where is he going with this? I get the people that are concerned about AI. Down the road, I've seen Terminator, I've seen The Matrix, I understand. And there are absolutely people in the job market that will be impacted by artificial intelligence in a negative way. There's no question about it. I'll just offer this opinion, and I don't offer this from a position of expertise. It's just my opinion as the person with the microphone, and generally try to be optimistic in general. I feel like AI is going to save a lot of lives. When you'll be able to, you're sick, or the American healthcare system is not doing what it should be doing for you. AI can help you. I have anecdotal evidence of people that I know in their lives that have used artificial intelligence to self-diagnose or correct a problem that a doctor's made. And I'm not saying that every doctor's bad or that the American healthcare system is totally bad. It's got its big time issues, right? Not everybody's bad. But we could all use a little extra help. And with the way things are progressing, I think of things in these terms. And I mean this. And just as you move on in your life, 10 years ago, before I met my now wife and had my daughter, I care about me. And I still care about me to a degree. And I care about my mom and my sister, my nieces, etc. But we're all pretty selfish at that point. And there's not saying there's anything wrong with that. But at this point in my life, I'm 43. I care about me, but I care about me in the context that I want to be here for my family. What I really care about is my wife, who's 9 years younger than me. I'm bragging. Shout out to me. And my daughter. And my thought is, at the very least for my daughter, God willing, she lives for, I don't even like to think about things like this. But my hope is that AI helps people, including my young daughter, live longer. Which has, again, nothing to do with anything. I just felt like saying it. You bet on this Monday, Nick Kostos and you, Westwood One Sports. So now we get to the actual piece of news, which is Chris Bell activated off the NFI list by the Miami Dolphins. I don't know if Chris Bell is going to be ready for the start of the season. Will he play week 1 when the Dolphins are on the road at the Las Vegas Raiders? I don't know. But it feels like, at this rate, he'll be playing sooner rather than later. And if it's true that Caleb Douglas is going to be at least passable as a rookie, and it looks that way, and if it's true that Chris Bell can achieve even some of the potential that we saw, tantalizing potential, I've used tantalizing 3 times on the show, I apologize, some of the mouth-watering potential that we saw at the collegiate level at Louisville, all of a sudden, this Dolphins offense is going to be more interesting than you think they're going to be. With Malik Willis as the trigger man, I'm not saying he's Dan Marino, but Malik Willis with Devon Achane, I like Ollie Gordon backing him up. He got 7 carries in the preseason game. Douglas, Bell, Dulcich, I think they're going to run the bleep out of the ball. And I'm on record saying it. I think they're going to beat the Raiders in week 1. And I think they're going to run for 200 plus yards in that game on the Raiders defense. So this is not me saying that we're going to confuse the 2026 Dolphins offense with the 1984 Dolphins offense when a second-year Dan Marino threw for 48 touchdowns. I'm not saying that. But if you're a Dolphins fan, this should excite you to potentially have Bell and Douglas ready early this season in year 1 of this rebuilding in Miami under head coach Jeff Hafley. Okay. We came back from break about 3 years ago with the Todd Monken sound on Deshaun Watson, so let's pay that off. So the Browns lose to the Bears, Brown Bear, 34-10. Who cares? Deshaun Watson in the game goes 11 of 15 for 126 yards. Shedeur Sanders, 6 of 11 for 79 yards and a bad interception. And I don't like what Shedeur said after the game, which was basically, I don't make bad decisions. Sometimes I don't execute. So Shedeur, everybody, we found him. In the history of humanity, we have found the one person that never makes a bad decision. Shedeur Sanders. I'm not trying to pile on. I know he's a lightning rod figure. Just why say things like that? I don't make bad decisions, and I'm paraphrasing. I made the right decision, I just didn't execute. Okay, buddy. Okay. And Todd Monken is heaping praise on Deshaun Watson because this quarterback competition is a farce. And I've been telling you this for months. Deshaun Watson's going to be the week 1 starting quarterback for the Cleveland Browns. And I don't think Shedeur is good. I don't think Dylan Gabriel's good. It doesn't mean they can't be on NFL rosters for a decade plus. I just don't think they're great. And Deshaun Watson, it's been a while since we've seen it. A long time since we've seen it. A long time. But we have seen it. And if the Browns are to have any upside this season, it's with Deshaun at quarterback. Because I'll tell you, and again, I'm watching so you don't have to. Both of Cleveland's top 2 round receivers, Casey Concepcion in round 1, Denzel Boston in round 2, both look like hits. Boston in particular has been an absolute stud. Concepcion scored a touchdown on a jet sweep rushing attempt in the preseason. You got to get glimpses of how he's going to be used. He's super fast. You like that a lot if you're a Browns fan. And the other quarterback competition. The Atlanta Falcons got pasted by the Denver Broncos 27-7 in week 1 of the preseason this weekend. Tua Tagovailoa plays 9 snaps in the game, goes 3 for 5 for 22 yards. After the game, says that it was really frustrating, and he wished that he had played better, and the Falcons' offense had scored some more points. I want to be, and you know this, right, because I've said it, I want to be high on the Falcons. I really do. It's getting hard. It's one preseason game, I get it. And I'll talk myself out of this misery with Atlanta, and I'll talk myself back into the offense. But we got news over the weekend that James Pierce, one of the 2 first-round pass rushers last year, suspended for 8 games, and he is, if you look at all the reports, he got off easy here with 8 games and no jail time. So he's out half the year. Jalen Walker, the other first-round pick last year at edge, is out for the season with a torn ACL. And the first-round pick the year before that, Michael Penix Jr., has still not been cleared. So some bad luck for the Falcons. Them's the breaks, kid. I still want to pick Atlanta to win a wide-open NFC South. I don't know if I can get there when it's all said and done. We'll hit way more NFL preseason. Coming up next hour on the show, Brad Evans will join us as well. But coming up next, the weekend that was in Major League Baseball, and I will answer the question, how much trouble are the LA Dodgers in? It's coming up next.
been a long time since we've been consistent offensively, and I think for me it's winning a 2-1 pitch and not chasing, winning a 3-2 pitch, taking the walk. I just don't see the consistent plan of attack, 1 through 9.
Now, back to You Better You Bet with Nick Kostos, presented by BetMGM on Westwood One Sports.
That's the voice of the manager of the LA Dodgers, Dave Roberts. Not pleased with his team's performance. Lose 3 out of 4 over the weekend at home to the Milwaukee Brewers. Now, perhaps you'd like to take the Dodgers to get back on the horse tonight and get a win over the Colorado Rockies. They are huge favorites, as you might imagine. So perhaps instead of laying it straight, you could put the Dodgers in a parlay if you so desire. And today, BetMGM players will receive an Any Sport Parlay Boost token. To use the Parlay Boost token, add a parlay wager to your bet slip and activate the token. If you win the wager made with the token, you'll receive extra winnings. Download the BetMGM app today, and please gamble responsibly. My baseball bets for tonight coming up at the end of the show. About the Milwaukee Brewers. Thursday was my last show of last week, and told you on Thursday how excited I was for this 4-game set, Brewers and Dodgers. And it was all Brewers. Not all Brewers, that would imply a sweep, but Milwaukee, the better team, clearly in the series, taking 3 of 4. Tarek Skubal, 109 pitches yesterday in a losing effort for the Dodgers. And the Brewers are now 3 games clear of both the Dodgers and the Braves for the number 1 seed in the National League playoffs. And LA is skidding a little bit. And remember what we talked about last week, because it's true. The Dodgers, I would still pick them and bet them to win the World Series, even if this happens. But it also, if it happens, means they're more likely to lose. They may not get a bye. They may not be one of the top 2 seeds in the NL when it's all said and done. Milwaukee's ahead of them, basically in a statistical dead heat with the Atlanta Braves. And we'll get to Atlanta in a little bit and the weekend that we saw for the Braves. So the Dodgers, basically since trading for Tarek Skubal and coming out of the All-Star break, have not, in fact, been infallible. They have not been indestructible. And they certainly have not looked inevitable. So yeah, they are in a spot of trouble right now. We saw over the weekend the 3 teams that are competing for 2 wildcard spots in the National League all play great. The Philadelphia Phillies swept the Minnesota Twins. The Diamondbacks took 2 of 3 from the Atlanta Braves. The San Diego Padres just continue to win, taking 2 of 3 from the Cleveland Guardians. So again, if the Dodgers have to play in a 3-6 matchup, the Phillies, I'm going to take the Dodgers. 3-game series against the Padres, I'm taking the Dodgers. 3-game series against Arizona, I'm going to take the Dodgers. So I still feel like the Dodgers are the best team. And they've got the, people don't like when you say this, but they've kind of got, to use the old Kurt Schilling line, not that one, this one, mystique and aura, like the old Yankees used to have, where you feel like even if they're down in a big game, like they're going to come back and win. Like they've earned that with their performance last year in the World Series and the comeback against the Toronto Blue Jays. So even if the Dodgers continue to play bad baseball here, even if the Dodgers lose tonight to the Rockies, even if they're the 3 seed, I still think they're going to win the World Series. But let's get this on record again right now. It's going to be way more difficult for them to three-peat, obviously, if they're the 3 seed as opposed to the 2 or the 1. Elsewhere in Major League Baseball, how about the Chicago White Sox? Kenny Henderson and Bill Zimmerman, Chicago White Sox, sweep the Tigers over the weekend, are now 5.5 games clear atop the American League Central, and look likely to return to the post. Great job by the Chicago White Sox this year. Also in the American League this weekend, the Seattle Mariners took 2 of 3 from the Astros and are just 4 games back in the AL West. The Toronto Blue Jays took 2 of 3 from the Yankees. And the Baltimore Orioles swept the Boston Red Sox. Boston has now lost 3 straight series following their white-hot play into and out of the All-Star break. I love the advent of the 3rd wildcard spot in each league in Major League Baseball. Take a look at the standings right now in the American League. 7 teams are within 2.5 games, or less, obviously, of the final wild card spot in the AL. Can you guess that if the season ended today, which team is the 6th seed in the AL? The Baltimore Orioles. Then we've got the Texas Rangers, the reigning AL champion Toronto Blue Jays, the Detroit Tigers, the Minnesota Twins, the Cleveland Guardians, and the Seattle Mariners, all within 2.5 games of making the playoffs. How great is baseball? Final hour, power hour coming up on the other side. Brad Evans joins to start breaking down the NFL.
Now, back to You Better You Bet with Nick Kostos, presented by BetMGM on Westwood One Sports.
Bring it up, Laura. Final hour. Power hour. You Better You Bet on Westwood One Sports. Nick Kostos, our amazing crew, Brad Evans, and you. The Power Hour and every hour here on You Better You Bet, brought to you by BetMGM. Make it legendary by downloading the BetMGM app and visiting BetMGM.com. Oh, this final hour of the show, as the kids would say, is going to hit. Do they say that? I'm going to tell everybody later this hour the single scariest superstar this year in the NBA. I can't wait to get into that. And the reason why, and it's not who you're expecting, and you're going to agree with me once I lay out the analysis and the rationale behind it. And we'll continue to break down week 1 of the NFL preseason. Got a bunch of fantasy notes to bring to everybody because hashtag, I love this stuff. Do you know who else loves this stuff? That is our teammate here on Westwood One Sports. Co-host, we had Pat Boyle on the show. Brad was on the show last week. Pat Boyle was on the show last week. Pat's fantastic. Brad's fantastic. They don't invite me to ever come on their show. That's fine. I'm in bed. It's no big. It's all good. I'm being serious. I'm dead serious. Don't invite me. I don't want to do it. I'm kidding. Am I? Brad was on the show last week. He's the best. He's doing great work for our friends in addition to hosting BetMGM tonight, writing about fantasy football this season for our friends at The Athletic, fantasy football guru, the always entertaining Brad Evans here on a Monday on Twitter at Noisy Huevos. Welcome back to the show, my friend. Hola, amigo.
Hola, amigo. It's a glorious day to be back with you, my friend.
Oh, so let's just start with just inside the mind of the fantasy football player. It looks like Breece Hall is going to be okay. I did this news last hour on the show. Strained groin, leaves practice. Aaron Glenn says he thinks he's going to be okay. We don't know that for sure, but it looks okay if the coach is saying that. Like, do you freak out the way like I freak out when you see news like that, Brad?
At this juncture on the calendar, no, because we got plenty of time for those guys to heal up, get the proper masseuse work to ensure that that tender area of the body is going to be operating at 100% come week 1. So, yeah, I mean, look, a lot of people were freaking out about Luther Burden, who suffered that groin injury. We already saw him running straight lines on the field before the pregame, over the weekend for the Bears preseason affair. Josh Jacobs suffered a similar injury, and the timeline for him is like about a week to 2 weeks. So with plenty of time to heal up, I am not moving Breece Hall down at all unless he has a setback here in shorter, which is always the downside of soft tissue issues.
Brad, I was so pissed this weekend when I found out that Jeremiah Love has the dreaded high ankle sprain, which you know this, right? Like that can kill the season for a skill position player if it doesn't fully heal. So I'm worried about that for Jeremiah Love. And my hope is, and I hate to say this, I think the Cardinals should put him on ice, and even if that means he misses regular season time. What should members of our audience, who I'm guessing, like 98% of them probably play fantasy football, what should they do as we approach draft season, peak draft season with Jeremiah Love? Where should he go and why in drafts?
Well, I'm going to tell you this. You're going to get him at a nice little discount because I think a lot of people are going to be just absolutely petrified. They're going to be overly skittish. I know you are, and understandably so. We don't know, though, the severity of that high ankle sprain. If it's a mild variety, that's a guy that should be, close to 100% come week 1. If it's a more severe case, he will be hampered probably for multiple weeks into the regular season. So because of the variance and the range of outcomes on his recovery time, that's a guy's probably going to slip a round or two in a lot of drafts. He was consistently going in the early 3rd round according to average draft position pre-injury. Now you're plugging him in a 12-team exercise, even points per reception formats in like round 4 or round 5. If he is available, at that juncture, even if we find out it is a more severe high ankle sprain, and let's say he is sidelined or maybe a pup candidate for the first 4 weeks of the regular season, I would still be jumping on the opportunity to buy his services. The reason why is this: Arizona is going to be a dog in virtually every game this season, and you saw the pass catching skills on display in that absurd 14-touch workload that he had in his preseason debut. The guy is a do-it-all, du jour running back. When he is healthy and on the field, he's going to rack the yak, he's going to rack the catches, and he is going to tally meaningful fantasy production in the RB1 class of PPR leagues.
I hope you're right, buddy. I mean that. I really do. I am nervous, and I am a little skittish right now. And hopefully as the weeks go on, we get some positive news on Jeremiah Love. I want him to play. I'm just annoyed that this happened on Friday. 14 touches in the front. Give me a break here. Let him play a series and get him on ice until September. Anyway, you could take this next one anywhere you want to, Brad. And you and I, we both love this stuff, right? So I genuinely, I have no idea what your answer is going to be. What is Brad Evans' favorite development to come out of week 1 of the NFL preseason, and why?
It's DeJon Stribling. His usage immediately. That was a guy that was right away involved in the mix. Now, he was with the B team. I mean, the starters largely were not playing for the San Francisco 49ers. No Brock Purdy. Ain't he so Purdy at the controls? But, man, that guy delivered on all the hype and then some. The body adjustment skills, the route diversity, X, Y, Z, lining up all over the field. He is a do-it-all Swiss Army knife kind of weapon. Yes, I understand Deebo Samuel was rocking the ice in his T-shirt, not in pants in that game, and he's a guy that can do a little bit of everything. But Mike Evans, my cousin, a little bit long in the tooth, to say the least. George Kittle coming off that Achilles injury. He's swinging in the right direction, could be available week 1, and could might that game in Australia against the LA Rams. But I think Stribling is the real deal, Holyfield. How much am I buyer of Stribling? This is true, Kostos. I have moved him to wide receiver 36 in my rankings. That is a back end WR3 in fantasy.
Do you have your rankings up?
Might be underselling it.
Do you have your rankings up? And I only ask this just for context for our listeners and viewers out there. Can you give a couple receivers that are in that general range just so people understand how bullish you are on Stribling?
Yeah, look, you're talking like Cortland Sutton, Marvin Harrison. I'm really bullish on Matthew Golden, Michael Pittman, that kind of caliber of receiver Stribling could be. And as I said, man, I might be underselling it because, Mike Evans, given his advanced age, he may be, losing a step here and there, but all the talk, all of the hype at Niners camp. It's not about the substation. It's about DeJon Stribling and what he can bring to the table. That jack of all trades is really going to attract maybe upwards of 110 to 120 targets off the hand of a very accurate quarterback in Brock Purdy. I like that.
So a lot of hype Niners camp around rookie receiver. And is it DeJon? Because I've pronounced his first name 15 different times. DeJon Stribling is what we're going with. Is that right?
I go with DeJon.
Stribling. That's probably right. Okay, I like that. DeJon Stribling, who's I have so much of him in dynasty leagues. I think it's okay if I mispronounce his name for now, at least. So a lot of hype for DeJon Stribling in Niners camp. So too, the hype in Ravens camp for another rookie receiver. Jacoby Lane. Now, worth noting, Elijah Surratt, the former Indiana receiver, 6 catches for 66 yards. Insert your Satan jokes here. So Surratt played well, but Lane had a receiving touchdown as well. What about Jacoby Lane? So much hype for him in Baltimore. Where do you like and how do you like Jacoby Lane as we get set for drafts?
Yeah, I got him right now in the upper 50s of the wide receiver rank. It's just the nature of the offense overall. And, the fact that Zay Flowers is going to be vacuuming up and just taking in all of those, primary targets, given the chemistry, given the rapport that he's built with Lamar Jackson, that team is going to run as well. Not only with Lamar calling his own number on occasion, especially mid the 20s, but the football Frankenstein, see-hole, smash-hole, and Derrick Henry. Obviously, a guy that's going to salt away the clock, so it's going to limit some of the vertical opportunities for the Ravens when they do have a lead after halftime. I like Lane. I think he's a phenomenal target deep in drafts because you're getting him well after pick 150 on average right now. I was highly impressed with his preseason debut. That seam route that he caught the touchdown with. The guy has got an appreciable yak. The separation skills, not really at the forefront, according to Boots on the Ground, the reports there, and based on the college tape that I've absorbed. But he's a guy that does win in contested catch situations. He's got the big body, the high point ability, and he's building that nice chemistry right now with Lamar Jackson and the backups on that roster. So again, don't go crazy with the cheese whiz, but somewhere in like the 55 to 60 WR range as your wide receiver 5 in 12-team fantasy drafts, I buy that.
I got 3 others for you, Brad. This will be 2 for 1. I don't think the Browns are going to be very good this year as far as like a real-life football team, even if I do think, and this, what a sentence this is, outside of quarterback and offensive line, I like the roster. I mean, those are 2 things that'll submarine your team, obviously. I'm really excited for both of Cleveland's rookie receivers. Casey Concepcion in the first round, Denzel Boston in the second. Are you as bullish as I am on both of those players, Brad, and why?
I'm more bullish on Casey Concepcion, and we saw front and center what he is able to do in the Browns preseason debut. Another guy, kind of like DeJon Stribling, he was utilized all over the field. He even got a carry in that game that went for a touchdown up the right sideline, extending and stretching his body, hitting the pylon, and splashing 6. I like that versatile usage. A guy that can be a dirty worker underneath, a guy that can get the breathing room on pretty much every single route in the short to intermediate field and get appreciable yak as well. He proved that at the collegiate level, and I think that's a part of his skill set. It's got to transition seamlessly to the next level. The Browns, I think, are still going to be a plus defense, even without Myles Garrett, but they got Jared Verse now, on the defensive side of things, or a tackling machine, and you worry about Deshaun Watson, but Concepcion has a borderline top 40 WR upside this season.
Couple more for you, Brad. You better you bet. Nick Kostos and you, Westwood One Sports, on this Monday. Brad Evans is our guest. BetMGM tonight, weeknights on Westwood One Sports, 6 to 11 p.m. Eastern. You can find his fantasy football written word this season as well on The Athletic. I was so bummed, Brad, and he didn't play in the preseason game, so there's not really a tie-in here, but so bummed on the Jordan Tyson hamstring news, right? The first round pick of the New Orleans Saints. If you want to build the bull case for New Orleans this year, from a win total perspective, to win the NFC South, just fantasy-wise, it's Tyler Shuck throwing the ball in a dome in a high up-tempo offense to Chris Olave and Jordan Tyson. And now Tyson's got another hamstring issue. He dealt with them at Arizona State. He's apparently going to miss time into the regular season. This sucks. What should we be doing right now with Jordan Tyson?
Yeah, seeking multiple opinions. That's no bueno when you hear that kind of phraseology tied to any player that is dealing with a soft tissue issue, and it's one that's going to linger. We don't know what the timetable for return is. Is he going to be a PUP candidate? I would say he probably is. He's a guy, I had a salary cap / auction draft of all my knucklehead friends over the weekend. Highly competitive league, 14-teamer. He started 3 wide receivers as super flex. He went dirt cheap. Jordan Tyson went for $4 in that format.
Wow,
People
that
are just
seems wrong.
Scared. It does, because there's a lot of long-term upside, and that being a keeper league, obviously a tremendous amount of upside, but the fear of the unknown is real. How dumb are these
people? How dumb are the people in this league with you? That is very stupid.
Well, I will say this. He got thrown out late, and people were out of money, and people were probably at least 8 beers in.
Okay, all right. so they're
that plays a
fair
factor.
Enough.
But, Tyson, when he is on the field, has got a tremendous amount of red zone upside with his high pointing ability. That's his calling card at college. That's what I think is going to transition nicely to the NFL level. I like the accuracy of Tyler Shuck, who was number 12 last season, adjusted completion percentage according to Pro Football Focus. It's just, when are we going to see him at 100%? Honestly, at this point, try to read between the lines, it may not be until the second half of the season. So draft and stash.
That sucks.
It does. It does.
We can't have nice things. My last one, until an idea flits into my brain like a fly that distracts my daughter. Just an opinion here. I am very nervous and pessimistic on Cam Ward and the Tennessee Titans this year.
Okay.
I don't like Robert Saleh I think he's a great defensive coach. I watched him in New York with the Jets. I don't think he's a good head coach. I'm a Giants fan. I'm not the biggest Brian Dable guy. Cam Ward, objectively, was not great last year. It's his rookie year. He can bounce back. And I know you did, watch, to you out there listening or watching, I'm not a hater. I have nothing against Cam Ward. I would like for everyone to be good. It's fun if that's the case. He doesn't look good. I don't think he has a ton of awareness. He's constantly running backwards and taking hits. Goes 5 for 12 for 37 yards. And I like Carnell Tate. And I like Wan'Dale Robinson.
Yeah.
And I like Alec Ayamaner. And I like Chimera DK. I've got big-time concerns about this offense. Unfounded, Brad, are you more optimistic about Cam Ward and the Titans offense than me?
Yeah, slightly more, though. Obviously, that cooled in the first preseason game as we had our hearts going pitter-pat for Dejon Stribling on the other side of the ball in that game against the Niners. It was flatlined watching Cam Ward in that offense. 3 targets of Carnell Tate, no receptions, no hookups with Cam Ward. Cam Ward was a 57 passer rating in a preseason game, largely against backups. Inexcusable. I was hoping for a step in maturation. Obviously, it's a one game sample size, and obviously it's a preseason. A lot of people say that's meaningless football, but it was a meaningful, downtrodden effort for him overall. Here's the good news, Nick. That defense is going to be atrocious. So Tennessee is going to be playing from behind early and often a lot of games. It's going to pump the volume, give an ample opportunity to right the ship. We saw him at times last season be an effective passer. I'm still convinced that a super flex format, he's going to go dirt cheap even in that format. He may go $10 to $15 in an auction/salary cap. He's going to go well after pick 100 in average drafts. There's profit potential there. But is he even going to hit, say, 22, 23 passing touchdowns? That is probably a stretch.
Just because I think this is not me disagreeing. I just think it's an interesting point of conversation, right? I don't think Robert Saleh is a good head coach, and I'm willing to be proven wrong. I hope he does great. It'll be more fun if teams are good, right? But I think one thing we can all agree on, even if you don't think he's a good head coach and you agree on that, the guy can coach his ass off when it comes to defense. So you said you think Tennessee's defense might be bad, and you could be right about that. My fear for Cam Ward, what if, other than he might be bad, what if the defense is kind of good and they're not in these shootouts? I might be out on everybody on the Tennessee offense this year in fantasy. Not that they can't perform well, but that I won't want to take them where they're being drafted.
Yeah, look, that's within the range of outcomes. And you're right. Look, I totally agree. Robert Saleh is a phenomenal defensive coach. And I agree with you wholeheartedly that there are question marks about him being the head skipper. I'm probably more of a believer in Brian Dable than you are offensively, though that is going to have to be proven out this season. He has had
success as a coordinator, to be fair. To be fair to you, that is true.
Correct. Yeah, correct. And look, it's a work in progress. It's a one-game preseason sample size. We're going to see what he can do. Maybe he'll take a step in the right direction in the next preseason affair. Maybe it's going to be a gradual buildup during the regular season. But let's say you are correct, and the defense is maybe a top half unit in the NFL. Then you're going to reduce the amount of opportunities through the air. You're really going to lean on Tony Pollard and Tyjae Spears a little bit more. If that were to pan out that way, you would be absolutely correct. Cam Ward will certainly not deliver the numerical goods.
I didn't even mention Calvin. They've got good receivers. With Ridley's there too. It's can you just trust this guy to get them the ball behind a bad offensive line? I'm not so sure. Brad, one thing I am sure about, you're a stud. BetMGM tonight, weeknights here on Westwood One Sports, 6 to 11 p.m. Eastern with our friend Pat Boyle. Check out Brad's written stuff on fantasy this year with our friends at The Athletic. Stay well, my friend. We'll catch up soon.
Nico Horner over 1.5 HRR, also known as Here I'm Out.
Oh, Brad Evans, who is a Cubbies fan, giving us a baseball bet for tonight. Absolutely love that. I will give you all my bets for tonight in Major League Baseball to wrap up the show. Looking forward to that. Feeling like I'm seeing the board a little bit right now in Major League Baseball. All right, we have a lot to do over the balance of the rest of the show. I actually, believe it or not, have a little soccer to do coming off of the World Cup. And I promise, if you're like, man, I don't want to listen to any of that, it's going to be quick. And I promise, I'm going to get you a little excited for soccer. And this is all stuff that's coming off the World Cup. So give me 60 seconds of your time, maybe 90 seconds at the end of the show, and I'll get you excited for domestic league soccer coming up. We'll do that at the end of the show. We'll tell you what our friends at BetMGM have cooked up in terms of betting the English Premier League this season, the scariest superstar in the NBA, and I'm going to tell you why, and we will play for you coming back from break what Pittsburgh Steelers head coach Mike McCarthy had to say about rookie quarterback Drew Aller, and break it down next on Westwood One Sports.
it over the middle. Weegan is going to turn on the speed. Hayden Weegan is on his way. Will he get caught? Turns it on extra. 10-5 down to the 2-yard line.
Now, back to You Better You Bet with Nick Kostos, presented by BetMGM on Westwood One Sports.
This segment sponsored by Progressive Commercial Insurance, protecting small businesses with affordable coverage options. Get a quote today at progressivecommercial.com, progressivecommercial.com. KDKA-TV in Pittsburgh, courtesy of The Call. Friend of the show, the great Bob Pompiani, along with friend of the show, Charlie Batch, on the call of Steelers preseason games locally in Pittsburgh. That, a Drew Aller 70-plus yard catch and run to rookie Caden Weegan. Weegan, or I thought it was Weegan, whatever. He's apparently going to be like a good rookie kick returner for the Steelers this year. So because of that 70-plus yard catch and run, Aller to Weegan, rookie to rookie, Drew Aller's preseason stat line looking pretty good for the Steelers. Aller goes 10 of 13 for 153 yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. It's the type of debut where even if you want to be a stick in the mud, pessimistic, you can put yourselves in the shoes of a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, especially someone like the Pennsylvania area who watched Aller. Do you remember at Penn State, prior to like the disastrous final season last year that got James Franklin fired? Like, we thought Drew Aller could be the first overall pick in the draft. Didn't turn out that way, obviously, but this was a guy with like sky-high upside. So Aller has a great first preseason game. The next day, so the game was Thursday night. They beat the Packers. We bet them. Shout out to me. The next day, Mike McCarthy goes on Pat McAfee show on ESPN and says, and I'm going to paraphrase here, that they viewed Drew. I actually have the quote right here. This is Mike McCarthy. So this is not me making this up. Mike McCarthy said this. When we drafted Drew, we felt like we were getting a first-round pick. All of that is holding true. If I were a Steelers fan, be still my beating heart. How does that not excite you if you're a Steelers fan, right? I've laid out and detailed my problems with this Aaron Rodgers season that's about to happen in Pittsburgh, which is, I think if Rodgers plays every game, it's an if, but if he does, the Steelers are not going to be good enough to win a championship and won't be bad enough to get you a high draft pick, which means you will remain in quarterback purgatory when Rodgers retires after this year. So it would be, just to call it best case scenario would be putting it lightly. If Drew Aller were good and the Steelers got their franchise quarterback of the future with a mid-round pick in this year's draft. Now, I mean this. I'm not trying to make Steelers fans less excited. So if you're a Steelers fan, you've earned the right to be excited about this. Just something to consider. Just like to offer context, right? Aller, 10 of 13, 153 yards, 2 touchdowns. Had a 75-yard catch and run, and if you watch that play, you can find it on social media. It's like a 10-yard pass. The corner falls down, and Weegan outruns guys almost, and gets tackled at like the 3-yard line. Like, it's way more about the receiver than it is about Aller. That doesn't mean that Aller didn't play well. He did. I'm just saying, like, 153 yards, half of it comes on this one play because a corner fell down and the fast rookie outran the rest of the second-string defense, right? Here are the rest of the Steelers' quarterback stat lines from Thursday night against Green Bay. Mason Rudolph, 10 of 11 for 93 yards. Will Howard, 7 of 9 for 86 yards. So in totality, Steelers quarterbacks in the first preseason game went 27 of 33 for 313 yards, 2 touchdowns, and no picks. This doesn't mean that Drew Aller can't or won't be good. I'm skeptical. Generally, when we see this, right, and like, how about Spencer Rattler as an example? Now, Rattler could end up getting traded by New Orleans. Maybe Zach Wilson turns out to be the 2 behind Tyler Shuck. Maybe Spencer Rattler could be a high-end backup quarterback, right? But generally, when we see a guy who we think maybe this guy's going to be the first overall pick, and then he's like a 4th round pick, a 3rd round pick, a 5th round pick. Generally, we don't see like that person rise to prominence and play great. Matt Barkley at USC, another example. Right? Thought he was going to be the number 1 pick, comes back, has a bad year, gets drafted in like a mid-round, and he's been was a backup quarterback for a long time, right? So maybe Aller can buck that trend. Maybe. I hope he can, for the sake of Steelers fans, and it'd be a great story, like local kid done well in the local area. I'm going to be a little skeptical, especially when considering what Mason Rudolph did and what Will Howard did in the same game. But it's clear, and you didn't need him to tell you this or me to tell you this. Mike McCarthy was not part of the regime that drafted Will Howard. Will Howard got drafted last year. Mike McCarthy, who, if you remember, when the Steelers hired him, it was because like we love his ability to develop young quarterbacks. He was part of the regime that drafted Drew Aller. So it was clear he could say what he wants about Will Howard. It was clear that whoever they took and it turned out to be Aller, was going to be his guy. Maybe Mike McCarthy can make it happen with Drew Aller. We'll see. And I do have the sense Rudolph will probably be the first guy off the bench if like Rodgers goes down in a game. My sense is if Rodgers were to miss significant time, they would just pull the Band-Aid off and play Aller. So Steelers fans, be excited. It's okay to be excited, but don't get over your skis. Not yet. Let's see how the rest of the preseason goes before that happens. We are not going to get to, what a surprise, all my preseason notes. We'll save some of them for tomorrow. One other one that I'd like to do here, then we'll get into some NBA. On Thursday night, the Colts tied the Patriots 13-13. The teams were like, you know what, we're good with this. We'll take the tie here. 13-13. Just worth noting, remember we told you last week, Josh Dobbs signed with the Detroit Lions after Teddy Bridgewater retired. So Dobbs will be Jared Goff's backup this year. You might remember that Josh Dobbs was Drake May's backup last year. The Patriots let Josh Dobbs walk because they love, it's a Tommy DeVito, baby. Tommy Cutlets. I'm doing the Italian hand gesture for people that are not watching. DeVito is Drake May's backup. He's good. Like, I think he could start at some point in the NFL. 13 for 22, 138 yards, and a touchdown pass to Kyle Williams, who we'll see if he makes the team. Last year's mid-round wide receiver from the Patriots. Patriots are all of a sudden stacked at receiver after the problems they had last year, now with A.J. Brown and Romeo Doubs and a bunch of the young players, including Kayshawn, booty, rocking everywhere. So Tommy DeVito, he's got the goods, and I tell you that as a Giants fan, right? He was good in this game. And then there's Anthony Richardson. So we talked about Richardson on Thursday, and I was not being dramatic or hyperbolic when I made the case that he could be playing for like his NFL career in this preseason game. Ian Rappaport, NFL media, so like I'm not making this up. Ian Rappaport said it on national television that Richardson, his eyesight may be compromised by the accident that he had last year with the resistance band that broke his orbital bone. Sounds worrisome. Adam Schefter had said, and Ian Rappaport had said that Richardson might not be on the Colts this year. And Richardson drew the start against New England. So if you look at his stat line, 11 of 14, 145 yards, threw a pick. The interception, and it was like, this is just how it works. I don't mean this as a positive or a negative. It is a negative. It's just how social media goes, where you get the notifications on your phone, Anthony Richardson intercepted, and everyone wants to dunk on him, right? The interception is not his fault. Nick Kostos and you, Westwood One Sports, Monday, you better, you bet. His throw goes right through the hands of a Colts receiver and gets picked off. It is not his fault. Now, I kind of am a Richardson fan, so take that with whatever grain of salt you want to take it with. You be the judge. Watch the play. You tell me, was it his fault? He also put on display a lot of those traits that made him the 4th overall pick of the 2023 draft. 6 carries for 53 yards and a touchdown. He's still 24 years old. For context, and this is kind of unfair because it's going to sound like it's a negative for this, and I don't mean it as such, but it's just for your context. Tyler Shuck, I'm not making this up. Again, you can just Google this and find out. Tyler Shuck turns 27 in September. Anthony Richardson is 3 years younger than Tyler Shuck. Anthony Richardson, I can't imagine that there are coaches around the league that aren't looking at this guy thinking, like, we could develop him and that he couldn't be like a high upside backup quarterback. At worst. Quinn Ewers is currently the backup quarterback in Miami to Malik Willis. You're telling me Anthony Richardson shouldn't be the backup quarterback there if something happens to Willis? Like, come on. Come on. Right? Maybe Richardson will never be what a lot of us thought he could be and achieve that potential that made him the 4th pick in the draft. But I mean, this idea that he stinks or should be out of the league, I can't get there. Now, Colts assistant general manager, Ed Dobbs, Josh's dad, that's not true, did say over the weekend, I saw this, credit to our friends at NFL.com for writing this story, that the Colts want to keep 3 quarterbacks that can all play, with the implication being that they'll keep Richardson to back up Daniel Jones along with Riley Leonard. My interpretation of that line is, hey, we saw Richardson play decently just like you did. If you want him, pony up, and we'll consider trading him. Now let's pay off the NBA tease that I've had all show. The single scariest superstar this year in the NBA. There is an expression, hell hath no fury, like a lover scorned. I would say, hell hath no fury, like an NBA superstar scorned. Take a listen to what Indiana Pacers star point guard Tyrese Halliburton had to say over the weekend. Do we have the Tyrese Halliburton sound? If not, I'll just say what he said. Okay, I will just say what Tyrese Halliburton said. So Tyrese Halliburton is annoyed, and I think he has a right to be annoyed. Tyrese Halliburton is pissed because his first game back from the Achilles tear, which he suffered obviously in Game 7 of the NBA Finals against the Oklahoma City Thunder, after going 3 for 3 from 3 to start that game. And we have the Halliburton sound. Laura, go ahead and play it. Halliburton's annoyed that his first game back is not on national TV.
Name any other person that you compare to my level of a basketball player, wherever you have me ranked. Mm-hmm. If they tore their Achilles and missed 16 months, do you think that game would be on national television?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, you probably think so?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. Do you think that game would be at home if not on national television?
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. Okay. Do you think that game would be at New Orleans?
Wait, what? Oh, your first game? Oh, that's crazy.
Oh, that's crazy.
That's crazy.
That's crazy.
When I saw schedule, I was like, oh, wow.
He's right. I am a diehard New York Knicks fan. I respect Halliburton, obviously, and I think he's very funny, stuff he does in WWE. On court, I hate him. I don't hate him in real life, obviously. I'm saying that as a sports fan. He tortures my team. Knocked the Knicks out twice, last year in the Eastern Conference Final, did the choke thing in Game 1. I don't like Halliburton as far as basketball goes. I don't mean that personally, right? Just as a sports fan. I'm also, as a Knicks fan, I'm terrified of this guy. He's 1,000% right. No other superstar. Think about the hullabaloo with Jason Tatum. And I'm not saying it's not deserved for Tatum. Tyrese Halliburton comes back from his injury. He's on the road in New Orleans on local television. He's right to be annoyed. And I'm a Knicks fan saying that. He's right to be annoyed. And we'll never know the answer. We'll never know. I'll just ask this. If Tyrese Halliburton doesn't blow out his Achilles at the beginning of Game 7 of the NBA Finals last year, which is I still can't believe that happened. He was 3 for 3 from 3 and had 9 points early in the game. And you remember, because we all watched Game 7, right? I had the feeling like he was going for 50 and the Pacers were going to win. And I was scared bleepless because I stood to lose money, a decent amount of money, if the Thunder lost that game. I needed OKC to win. And I was very nervous. And I remember that feeling when Halliburton got hot early. Would the Pacers have won the title? Would they have won the championship? Would if that had happened, would you ever have something like this? He's right. That it is garbage. It would happen to no other star. He's correct. And in this day and age, right? And we talked about this earlier in the show, and I talked about AI a little bit, right? Where guys are coming back from injuries, and they're coming back faster than ever. They're coming back better than ever. Halliburton had all that time off. Like, Tatum came back during the season. You got the sense, and I don't know this for sure, but if the Pacers were really in the mix, would Halliburton have come back? Possibly, right? I mean, they tanked, so no, but if they had been in the mix, could he have potentially? As a Knicks fan, I think that what I'm about to say should have added emphasis for you. This is a guy that you do not need to give any extra motivation to. He doesn't need a bigger chip on his shoulder. He doesn't need it. He is an assassin. And I really believe this. And it's not because, maybe it is because Indiana's a smaller market team. Maybe that is the answer. But it was not that long ago that this guy was still beating hearts out of the chests of teams and showing it to them like Indiana Jones in the Temple of Doom. Like he did it to Giannis in Milwaukee. He did it to the Cavs. He did it to the Knicks. And he was maybe about to do it to Oklahoma City on the road in Game 7 of the Finals. This dude is a monster. Opening the season against Jeremiah Fears and Derek Queen in New Orleans on local television. He's right. And I'll tell you, as a Knicks fan, it makes me nervous. It should surprise nobody if, and more likely, when the Indiana Pacers are back atop the Eastern Conference, or at least in contention atop the Eastern Conference this season. Before we hit the final break and talk a little soccer and end the show with our bets for tonight, our executive producer, while Bill Zimmerman is out, Tyler Morales is with us here with the trivia question of the day. Tyler, what do we got?
5 rookie running backs since 2000 have scored 15 or more total touchdowns in their first season. Saquon Barkley was the last to do it in 2018. Can you name the other 4?
Okay, so let me see if I can do this off the top of my head. LT?
That is incorrect.
Sean Alexander?
Incorrect again.
Okay, so 0 for 2. All right, we'll take a break, and I will attempt to answer this question on the other side. We'll talk a little soccer and give you our baseball bets to close out the show right after this.
Now, back to You Better You Bet with Nick Kostos, presented by BetMGM on Westwood One Sports.
All right, Tyler Morales. Let's just give the answer just in the interest of time here. Rookie running backs to have 15-plus touchdowns since the year 2000. Saquon Barkley is one. Who are the others?
Yeah, it's got the chat going here. Clinton Porter's had 17. Zeke Elliott had 16. Maurice Jones-Drew had 15. And Mike Anderson had 15 in 2000.
Oh, so Mike, do you remember Mike Anderson's, what his celebration was when he scored a touchdown? I believe, I'm going to get this wrong. I think he was in the Army. He was in one of the armed forces. I don't say this, I just forget. He would do the mile high salute. He would do like the salute when he scored a touchdown. And I think he was 3 straight. It was TD, then TD was hurt. Olandis Gary had 1,000 yards, and then Mike Anderson had 1,000 yards. With 3 straight different 1,000-yard rushers for Mike Shanahan's Denver Broncos offense. Good question from Tyler Morales. Thanks to Tyler, and thank Tatum Bell, Oklahoma State, right? Tatum Bell, a couple years later for the Denver Broncos. Okay. Thanks to Tyler, thanks to our crew, thanks to our guests, the great Brad Evans and the great Chip Patterson. Okay, we'll get to the bets. You know what? Let's go ahead and drop the dope-ass beat here. Go ahead, Laura. Drop the dope-ass beat, and we'll talk about the Premier League, etc. And if you, dear listener and dear viewer, are betting on the Premier League this season, which I will be, we need you to know about BetMGM's 2-up early payout. If the team you bet goes up by 2 goals at any point during the match, BetMGM is going to pay your bet out early as a winner. They have phrased this, one of the most exciting offers in soccer betting. I'm going to say this. It's the most exciting offer in soccer betting, available throughout the Premier League season. Download the BetMGM app today and please gamble responsibly. Look, I'm being serious. Like, we watch the World Cup, you watch soccer, teams blow 2-goal leads. You go up, you bet a team, they're up by 2 goals, you win your bet, no matter what happens the rest of the match. If you're going to bet soccer, why wouldn't you be doing it at BetMGM? Couple soccer notes to wrap the show. So over the weekend, Arsenal, who won the Premier League last year, lost in a Champions League final shootout to Paris Saint-Germain. Arsenal are the favorites to win this year's Premier League, plus 125 at BetMGM, destroyed Manchester City in the Community Shield, which is like an exhibition game. It's the winners of the Premier League against the winners of the FA Cup, which is the big English soccer tournament. Arsenal destroyed Manchester City 3-0. You might see that and think, wow, Manchester City's really good. Well, Pep Guardiola's no longer there as the manager. Former Chelsea boss Enzo Maresca is now the Manchester City manager. And yes, Man City's really good. Arsenal, though, way better. And I think Arsenal very likely to win the Premier League this season. Speaking of Manchester City, big news in Spain as it concerns Manchester City. As the Golden Ball winner, best player in the World Cup, Rodri, who is Spain's defensive midfielder, who's been a Manchester City defensive midfielder for quite some time, Real Madrid tried to sign Rodri. Real Madrid, one of the 2 biggest clubs in Spain, along with Barcelona. Rodri has spurned Jose Mourinho. Great documentary on Netflix about Mourinho. I found it fascinating. Spurns Real Madrid. He will be introduced as a Barca man either today or tomorrow. So Rodri will play this year at Barcelona, and he was the best player in the World Cup, voted the best player in the World Cup this year. Barcelona, a minus 150 favorite to win La Liga this year. Real Madrid, plus 120. I am an unabashed Jose Mourinho fan. I'm a Chelsea fan. He had 2 separate stints managing my favorite team. So I'll root for Real Madrid, but I do think Barcelona is the best team. Okay, some baseball bets to wrap up the show. The Chicago White Sox. White hot right now. See what I did there. They are pretty good big-sized dogs tonight on the road at the Cubs with Luis Castillo pitching. Give me the White Sox plus 140. Give me the White Sox to beat the Cubs tonight in Wrigley Field. And look, Mets are playing great baseball since the trade deadline. Their offense has been raking. I don't care. The Padres are hot. Give me the Padres at even money to go on the road and beat Nolan McLean and the Mets today with Walker Buehler on the mound. So Padres plus 105, White Sox plus 140. And let's use that parlay boost token we've been promoting during the show on the 2008 Memorial World Series parlay. For those that don't remember that World Series, that is the Phillies and the Rays. The Phillies, a minus 250 favorite tonight against the Miami Marlins. Give me the Phils, and give me the Rays to avoid a 4-game sweep at the hands of the Baltimore Orioles. That parlay, Tampa and Philly, pays plus 124. I will talk to all of you tomorrow on a terrific Sports Tuesday. Until then, I'm Nick Kostos wishing you minimal sweats, winning bets, and the absolute very best of luck. Our good friends, Black and Abdallah, with our buddy Raj, coming up next on Westwood One Sports.